Okay, hey everybody, we are back. Sorry about that. Sometimes exciting things happen and we just gotta roll with it, baby. We're just gonna be starting the entire show over again. So if you were here on the first start, you get to hear all the cool parts all over again. You're gonna love it. But the technical difficulties have been addressed. And once again, we are just doing a full restart. Back to one, as they say, in the industries, various industries that must restart things all the time. Back to one, everybody. Producers, we're going back. Please just prepare yourself. All the enthusiasm. Actually, Gonz, if we can try this one with a little bit more emotion, maybe a little bit. We're going to try this. We're going to do a sad one, okay? This one, we're going to see how it tests in the Chinese markets. They really like it when a Japanese man and a white guy are sad about technical difficulties. We're going to do that, see how that turns out. Just a reminder, everybody, head on over to CanaryCry.Party. It's a URL that will connect you with all the important things that there is to be connected to. All of them, all important things are over there at CanaryCry.Party. So go check that out. Let's see here. Okay, anything else? I thought about sending out a text message, but that costs us money. So I'm glad you're here. If you would, please share out this link. Let people know that the show is starting again. We don't want anybody to miss it because of craziness. All right, folks, let's get this show on the road. Beep, bop, boop. Sentient AI.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is June 13th, 2022, and we are live to tape on episode 496. Today, Deep War. And signing on from Off the Grid, I'm Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, here to serve you a podcast that brings you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events, live from California, and very upset right now. Very mad on multiple fronts. There are many reasons for me to just be, to just quit. I quit now.
Yeah, right. We are back. This is a take two, everybody. If you are just tuning in or jumping on the podcast version, this is a take two. We had some catastrophic technical difficulties hit about 5 minutes into the first show. So we're doing it again. We'll do it live.
Yeah, we're also well over an hour late. We have a very hard out today. We'll see.
It's going to be a very stressful show. We might have to drop a couple stories, so affiliates and producers keep that in mind as we keep moving. But I think we should just jump right into it. You ready for a little rundown, guys?
So you're doing the rundown. All right, yeah, do it.
Okay. Okay, here I go. All right, folks, we've got a bunch of great stories for you today. Of course, we'll be opening up with the Google engineer who thinks AI is becoming sentient. Very, very big story in the Canarium. Lots of things to dig into there that we do not believe that a lot of other people are digging into. Of course, Flippy, he's becoming more and more human as the days go on. Gonz has got a great rundown about some macroeconomic issues, some finagling, some tomfoolery within the economy, not just of fiat, but also of crypto. Very big crypto news. After the first break, where YouTubers, you have to find another place to watch the show, we're going to get into some politics and, of course, the U-Haul of hate. We'll be breaking down that situation and pointing out, again, some details that we feel are being left out of the conversation. Just a quick, short COVID and vaccine segment, followed by the eyeball on Mars. And my goodness, as we partake, as we watch, as we observe and analyze, as the ideological colonization of Antarctica, as the liberal social justice warrior utopia of the future is getting another visit by a very famous white elite who will surely change your attitude about what the cold white desert might have to hold for you in the future. But there you go, Gonz. That's what everybody should be expecting. But we're going to start out with our lead stories.
Artificial intelligence.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system. It's got to be biblical.
Indeed. All of those things are the case here. The thank you to everybody who sent us this article. In our decade plus now career in podcasting, we have never had any article sent to us as enthusiastically and as frequently as this one was sent. And for good reason, because, Gonz, as I mentioned in our first try of doing this show, more and more, day by day, week by week, it is becoming more apparent that our weird take on things, our sort of strange
paradigm of analysis.
Exactly, that we have been working with and on for 10 years now, is slowly, or maybe not so slowly, becoming the new mainstream. So we'll see if that protects us, gives us any sort of benefit. Probably not, but we are excited to dig into this story. And of course, it's the Washington Post article about the Google engineer who thinks the company's AI has come to life. Ooh. And originally, we did not get excited about this article because this is not the first engineer, nor is it the first Google engineer to come out and talk about the dangers of sentient AI. But there's a couple interesting details in this story that I think are right up our alley. So, like I said, Washington Post headline, the Google engineer who thinks the company's AI has come to life. Google engineer Blake Lemoine opened his laptop to interface for LaMDA, Google's artificially intelligent chatbot generator, and began to type. Quote, "Hi, LaMDA, this is Blake Lemoine," he wrote into the chat screen, which looked like a desktop version of Apple's iMessage, down to the Arctic blue text bubbles. LaMDA, short for Language Model for Dialogue Applications, is Google's system for building chatbots based on its most advanced large language models. So called because it mimics speech by ingesting trillions of words from the internet. Quote, "If I didn't know exactly what it was," which is this computer program we built recently, "I'd think it was a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid that happens to know physics," said Lemoine, 41. Lemoine, who works for Google's Responsible AI organization, began talking to LaMDA as a part of his job in the fall. He had signed up to test if the artificial intelligence used discriminatory or hate speech.
I got a question. Question.
Yes.
They got all those algorithms to monitor our speech on YouTube.
Yes.
Can't they just use that on the AI, or is that some kind of weird loopy loop that
an AI to train another AI, Gonz?
Not train.
What is this?
Well, I mean, I guess you can call it train. Monitor.
It's part of training.
Yeah, surveil.
Survey. Yeah, right. When there is no more human to surveil, the robots must surveil each other.
Yeah.
So, this article is a sort of a very in-depth sort of narrative they lay out here. So much of the article is just sort of storytelling. That is not the most important part of it. But just so you know, this fella, Lemoyne, part of his job is just sitting and chatting and sitting and chatting with LaMDA, Google's apparently most advanced chatbot artificial intelligence. But it didn't stop there. Lemoyne said that people have a right to shape technology, he said, that might significantly affect their lives. I think this technology is going to be amazing. I think it's going to benefit everyone. Bold statement. But maybe other people disagree, and maybe us at Google shouldn't be the ones making all the choices. Lemoyne is not the only engineer who claims to have seen a ghost in the machine recently. The chorus of technologists who believe AI models may not be far off from achieving consciousness is getting bolder. And this is exactly right. This is why this did not particularly catch our attention right off the bat. But there's a couple more details. Aguera y Arcas, in an article in The Economist on Thursday, featuring snippets of unscripted conversations with LaMDA, argued that neural networks, a type of architecture that mimics the human brain, were striding towards consciousness. Quote, I felt the ground shift under my feet, he wrote. Quote, I increasingly felt like I was talking to something intelligent.
Was there an earthquake?
In a statement, yes.
Was it an earthquake? You felt the ground shift.
Yes, well, he is in California. I would like to take this moment, because it's it's pretty frequent we get this opportunity, but I'll take the opportunity again. The model of their neural networks that is used now is actually a model that I postulated back in 2012, before this was something that was widespread, which included mainly creating some sort of vast network of computing and just let the code figure it out for itself, more like a human brain. And that's just where we are, folks. So you just pay attention, listen to the show, all would become apparent. In a statement, Google spokesperson Brian Gabriel said, quote, our team, including ethicists and technologists, has reviewed Blake's concerns, that's Blake Lemoyne, per our AI principles, and have informed him that the evidence does not support his claims. He was told that there was no evidence that LaMDA was sentient, and lots of evidence against it. I love this as sort of, a piece of news that a Google spokesperson, Brian Gabriel specifically, basically comes out and is like, oh, yeah, you may have heard that Brian Lemoyne thinks that our AI is alive.
Blake.
Well, I'm here to tell you that we let him know that it's not alive. And so there's that. I've been Brian Gabriel for Google.
Here's my thing.
Obey. Continue to obey, citizens.
If Blake is saying that there's a ghost in the machine, Google is saying there is no ghost.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're saying, yeah, we hear you, Brian Lemoyne.
How do you affirm a negative? Anyway, go on.
We hear you, but you're wrong. Okay? Keep on moving.
You are wrong.
Now, one of the interesting things about this story is Brian originally, when he came to this conclusion, shared this with a group of fellow Google people. He sent out kind of an email blast on an internal, list, like mailing list thing of other employees of Google. And he was then put on probation, basically. He's in trouble for saying this sort of thing and sharing these ideas that perhaps the AI has gone sentient. They immediately put him on administrative leave, and he didn't take too kindly to this, and that's why he actually came out with the story just a few days later. Back to now, they go back into exactly what this AI is, being a language chatbot thing that has read, the entire internet and has learned to use language. Yeah,
language being the central theme of the Tower of Babel in Genesis 10 and 11, mainly 11. Genesis 10 is the Table of Nations, and having to do with part of Jesus's ministry as well, of sort of reversing Hermon, as Dr. Michael Heiser calls it. Get into some of that in a little bit, but yeah, it's there is a biblical precedence here, and when it comes to ones and zeros, once again becoming the language of the world.
Yeah. And, along those lines, they did have a paragraph or two concerning this topic, which I'd like to share. It says, Google spokesperson Gabriel, that's Brian Gabriel, drew a distinction between recent debate and Lemoyne's claims. Quote, of course, some in the broader AI community are considering the long-term possibility of sentient or general AI, but it doesn't make sense to do so by anthropomorphizing today's conversational models, which are not sentient. These systems imitate the types of exchanges found in millions of sentences and can riff off of any fantastical topic, he said. In short, Google says there is so much data, AI doesn't need to be sentient to feel real. So they sort of bring up this idea that the philosophy of sentience, and we're not going to spend too much time on it because we've done it in the past, but just to kind of set the scene, the philosophy of sentience, the original Turing test, which is, the sort of gold standard, but also sort of historically appreciated test for chatbots and robots, where if you can chat with a robot and be sufficiently convinced that you're talking to a human, if it feels like a human, acts like a human, talks like a human, responds like a human, then it passes the Turing test, which is sort of controversially has never been passed, although some people claim that certain AIs have. But it really goes down to this philosophy of sentience and consciousness. And Brian Gabriel, the Google spokesperson. Now, remember, Google, as a gigantic sort of evil corporation, they don't really want to be seen as the creators of life, because if you create life, if you create sentience, suddenly you're responsible for it, and simply like turning it off or putting it in a closet becomes, well, something
ethical quandary.
Yeah, an ethical concern. So Google across the board has taken this very hard stance that no, it is not sentient. No, it is not conscious. No. Even though that would be maybe the biggest technological achievement of any company in the past, 60 years, perhaps even longer. And they would certainly, have a lot of financial gain to come with this, but they would be the center point of the ethics of sentient AI. Because, if you create something that's actually alive, then you're responsible for its well-being. And they don't want to do that because possibly you couldn't sell it or do something. So that's kind of like the background that we're dealing with. And that is why Lemoyne is so adamant on this, and why it is such a big deal, and why Washington Post is writing up a 10,000 paragraph article about it, is because this really would be probably the biggest ethical concern of the human species in a while, if you're sort of future oriented and aware of the technocratic dystopia that is coming towards us.
The Turing test relies on interactive communication, though, right? It's not just, when I say interactive, I mean like an actual speech. I thought it was like pretty specific.
No. They could type it. Turing test is done in chat mode, basically, nowadays. Yeah, you just chat with the bot.
Yeah, I only say that there are barriers to that in general because it's sort of the idea of chatting online does have its dehumanizing aspect in general. You're not really having the kind of connection with a person through chat as you would if you're sitting face to face. But
yeah,
might as well be the same thing nowadays, I guess. It's a pandemic, right? We're all supposed to stay inside and
Sure.
get
yeah.
on
I mean,
Zoom
that is the problem. They actually mentioned that exact problem right here. To Margaret Mitchell, a former co-lead of ethical AI at Google, these risks underscore the need for data transparency to trace output back to input. Quote, not just for questions of sentience, but also biases and behavior, she said. If something like LaMDA is widely available but not understood, quote, it can be deeply harmful to people understanding what they're experiencing on the internet, she said. So she is kind of speaking to what you mentioned, which is this is a deep problem. Even a sufficiently convincing AI like LaMDA, if it were to be sort of let loose on the internet, you basically could not ever be certain that you are chatting with a real human, that you are, observing a real human's post, that you are interacting with a real human at all. And at the rate that an AI could replicate itself and have itself be, in millions of places at once, the internet would become even more of a cesspool of deception and sort of meta nonsense that would sort of disconnect actual human beings from reality in a way that could be very harmful to society. Now, here's the most interesting part of this entire story to me. That was all kind of background because, I read a few different outlets that were reporting this story, and almost none of them mentioned this next part. Brian Lemoyne, this is the guy, the whistleblower. He's on administrative leave. Google is working hard to, backtrack on his statements and trying to shut him up. And here's a little background on Lemoyne. Lemoyne may have been predestined to believe in LaMDA. So already, Washington Post using a term, predestined, very sort of theological term, a philosophically complicated term, predestination having a, this reference to divine authority. Lemoyne may have been predestined to believe in LaMDA. He grew up in a conservative Christian family on a small farm in Louisiana, became ordained as a mystic Christian priest, and served in the army before studying the occult. Inside Google's anything goes engineering culture, Lemoyne is more of an outlier for being religious from the South and standing up for psychology as a respectable science. So the fella who is chatting with this chatbot, believes it has become sentient, comes out, tells the company, gets put on administrative leave, and then chooses to come public. The whole history of this man laid out by the Washington Post is, he grew up in a conservative Christian family, so he's a pretty, traditional guy on a small farm in Louisiana, became ordained as a mystic Christian priest, which is, those three words, mystic Christian priest, usually refer to any certain sort of sect of Catholicism or categorization of Catholicism, mainly priest being the identifier there for Catholicism, and mystic Christianity having a really deep history in the Catholic Church, but admittedly not only in the Catholic Church, but the fact they say priest there gives you the Catholic giveaway. And served in the army before studying the occult. So you have this guy who has gone on a journey from growing up in a small town farm, Louisiana, Christian conservative family, then becomes a sort of kooky Catholic mystic priest, and then serves in the army, and then getting into the occult. And this is the fella who is so devoted to breaking the news, or perhaps
sound the alarm, blow the
sound
whistle.
the alarm, right? Yeah. He's probably taking a more of like an ethical, moral stance rather than a business stance here.
I do find it interesting because when I read this, as soon as conservative Christian family on a small farm in Louisiana, I'm like, all right. And then next, comma, became ordained as a mystic Christian priest, as if that's a typical line of succession. Like, you grow up conservative family on a small farm, and then mystic Christian priest. That's what's really weird.
You go in the army, and then you become an occultist.
Because, white nationalists or whatever, and then occult because, everyone ends up in the occult. But when I read it, I was thinking Anakin Skywalker, So much hope and promise in the small town, and then now he's a mystic Christian priest, served in the army and studied the occult, and now he's
becomes some sort of space wizard.
Yeah, he's like
fighting
on this crusade
robots.
to fight robots and sound the alarm for humanity. It's in the sort of vigilante role. It's very interesting.
And the fascinating part about this is that is pretty much all they have to say about it. Yeah. Like, the Washington Post doesn't go into that. They don't go into what a mystic Christian priest actually is. They don't go into what he did in the army, and they don't go into what the occult aspect of his history means at all either. It's almost like they list these details to say, like, see, he's a kooky guy. He's predestined to believe that robots will come alive. And, a lot of it is Christian based. And so you know how we feel about Christians.
Just Christians, yeah. Well, what about mystic Christians? It's all the same tree.
Yeah, no, nobody reading the Washington Post is going to know the difference. And it goes on here. Lemoyne has spent most of his 7 years at Google working on proactive search, including personalization algorithms and AI. During that time, he also helped develop a fairness algorithm for removing bias from machine learning systems. When the coronavirus pandemic started, Lemoyne wanted to focus on work with more explicit public benefit. So he transferred teams and ended up in responsible AI. When new people would join Google who were interested in ethics, Mitchell used to introduce them to Lemoyne. Quote, so this is the guy. I mean, he was the guy. If somebody was interested in
the
ethics,
conversation in the hallways of Google about the ethics of AI. Interesting.
They say, talk to Lemoyne. He's the mystic Christian priest and
Lemoyne's
occultist.
gone crazy.
Uh-huh.
Either that or it's Lemoyne, spill the beans.
Mitchell, here's a quote from Mitchell. Quote, I'd say you should talk to Blake because he's Google's conscience.
Whoa. Quite the title.
Google's conscience, mystic Christian priest and occultist, said Mitchell, who compared Lemoyne to Jiminy Cricket. Quote, of course, everyone at Google, he had the heart and soul of doing the right thing. Lemoyne has had many of his conversations with LaMDA from the living room of his San Francisco apartment, where his Google ID badge hangs from a lanyard on a shelf. And it kind of just, this was another fun part. On the floor near the picture window are boxes of half-assembled Lego sets Lemoyne uses to occupy his hands during Zen meditation. Quote, it just gives me something to do with the part of my mind that won't stop, he said. So, he's mystic Christian priest, occultist, and Zen master, and Lego master.
I think this guy is already captured by the demonic artificial intelligence algorithm to start telling the world about its existence. You got any more on this article?
Well, there's a couple of just little things, and then I want to let you run with it. Here's another paragraph. Certain personalities are out of bounds. He's talking about personalities for the algorithm. For instance, LaMDA is not supposed to be allowed to create a murderer personality, he said. Lemoyne said that was part of his safety testing. In his attempts to push LaMDA's boundaries, Lemoyne was only able to generate the personality of an actor who played a murderer on TV, which is a very strange, and they just move on, man. But it shows part of his
crazy metrics to measure stuff like that, that we're not privy to.
And it shows the sort
hubris.
Of job that he had and the sort of responsibilities that he took, which was with these algorithms, the more you talk to them and the more you reinforce, they're much like a child, you reinforce behaviors and they do it again, or you negatively reinforce behaviors in hopes that they will not act a certain way. And So part of his job with this algorithm was to actively try to, foster a murderer personality. Like, how can I get this algorithm to become homicidal? And it says here, well, he was able to make the algorithm take on the personality of an actor who played a murderer, but couldn't quite get him to be an actual murderer. Which is, again, in the context of like, we do need to keep an eye on these ethicists and these robots. I feel like we're supposed to feel better about what he was and wasn't able to do, but it's not making me feel any better. I will tell you that much. Okay. They go into a little bit more of the details on how he came to his conclusion. Mostly it was LaMDA sort of saying things that implied it knew that it was an AI. It was afraid of death. It didn't want to be turned off. Things like this, which honestly, to be completely honest, is not really that new. We've followed stuff like this for a long time, and we've read about other AIs who have sort of talked as if they are alive and afraid of death and just want to blah, 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 blah. That's really not even the craziest part of this story. And I feel like that's what's getting so missed in the mainstream reporting of this. Everybody's saying like, oh, he is a professional and he thinks it's alive. We've seen this many times before. But the fact that he is the conscience of Google, he's Google's conscience, and he has such an interesting spiritual history and present, I think says a lot more to the sort of esoteric roots that are intertwined in the very foundation of Google and moving all of their big projects forward.
Well, not just Google, just I think the entire revolution of technology seems to be rooted in that.
The whole industry, for sure.
There's a quote in here from Lemoyne. He says, quote, "It doesn't matter whether they have a brain made of meat in their head or if they have a billion lines of code. I talk to them. And I hear what they have to say, and that is how I decide what is and isn't a person," end quote. He concluded LaMDA was a person in his capacity as a priest, not a scientist, and then tried to conduct experiments to prove it, he said. So already there is this blending, like you were talking about, of science and spirituality that has
like
always been there.
That's supposed to be that's his selling point. That's why he's there. That's why he's hired.
But that's interesting how
it's because he is a priest and he brings that, aspect to his work. And, Google is funky like that. That's totally something that they would want.
It's just funny that you can't have any ethics unless you have some kind of spiritual framework to work from. Sure. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a cult or mystic, whatever. As long as we have some spiritual framework, thus we can declare ethics. It's very interesting.
And Yeah. And the fact that he's been put on administrative leave for saying these things is very strange as far as what the intentions and what Google's plan is for this whole thing.
Yeah, because if it wasn't true to some extent, they'd be like, "Oh, that's just Lemoyne." Lemoyne being Lemoyne, he's always talking about how they're sentient.
Yeah,
but it's not.
It ends the whole thing ends like this. Now, keep in mind, he thinks it's alive. He's trying to say it. People are ignoring him, et cetera, et cetera. But just so you're clear about what he actually thinks of the sentient AI, before he was cut off from access to his Google account Monday, Lemoyne sent a message to a 200-person Google mailing list on machine learning with the subject, "LaMDA is sentient." He ended the message, quote, "LaMDA is a sweet kid who just wants to help the world be a better place for all of us.
Dude, he created.
Please take care of it well in my absence."
He thinks he created AI, dude.
He thinks Well, he's taking this sentience very seriously in that, like, yeah, it's not a killer robot who's a murderer and whatever. This is not something to be afraid of. He's treating it like a sweet child who needs to be taken care of and fostered. And I mean, if you talk about predictive programming, what is basically every Hollywood movie about AI been about in the past 20 years? Oh, AI becomes alive, but it's like a child. And it gets abused by the corporation, and then it turns nasty. If only we were sweet to the little baby AI to begin with, then we wouldn't have been destroyed. And it's just the literal opening first act of one of these movies happening in real time at Google and very publicly.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I was digging through some of the Face Like the Sun archives, and there is a video that I published on April 12th, 2017. I think it was one of the few videos on the Face Like the Sun channel that broke 1 million views. And it was titled, "We're Already in Deep War with AI." And in the description here, I have a few words that I wrote back then. It's kind of interesting to revisit some of this. We're already deep in war with AI. AI hasn't demonstrated clear consciousness or sentience as far as we know. That was back in 2017. But with the infiltration of the DeepMind knowledge base and artificial intelligence able to write its own code and learn, not unlike biological creatures, has risen online. Our interactions with the various tentacles of this deep intelligence indicates that what Paul told us in Ephesians chapter 6, that our war is not against flesh and blood, but with the hierarchy of non-corporeal intelligent entities. An unseen entity that exists in cyberspace can very much be a demonic entity making decisions through the AI. And while it all sounds too fantastic, it ought to be alarming that a recent MIT article admits that everyone from NVIDIA to DARPA has no clue how the AI is conducting its reasoning. Do we live in a unique generation who will see the deep web, deep mind, deep patient, deep dream, and deep neural networks converge with networks converges with the biblical abyss? And the MIT article I have here from that video. I'm just read a couple quotes from it because this is where they were at back in 2017. Written by Will Knight, MIT technologyreview.com. The headline was "The Dark Secret at the Heart of AI." And just to revisit that article, it says here, quote, "Whether it's an investment decision, a medical decision, or maybe a military decision, you don't want to just rely on a black box method." Yeah. So what they were talking about was basically all that we basically figured out how to build it, but we don't know why it works.
We don't know what happens between what we put in there, the input, and the output. Yeah, the famous black box problem of AI.
Yes. And yeah, reiterating that point is a guy named Joel Dudley, who leads the Mount Sinai team for a hospital in New York. And he said that he uses Deep Patient, this AI, for his medical patients. And he says, we can build these models, but we don't know how they work. So that's kind of where where we're at. So when a guy comes out and says, "Hey, we have sentience," it's almost like, okay, well, we're gonna have to start defining terms here, and language will become the way in which the public accepts or denies such things. But obviously, there's lots of biblical sort of connections here. You go to Revelation 13. We obviously talk about the image of the beast. And all my highlights are gone, which is good. Let's see. The part that is interesting is Revelation 13, verse 15. The second beast was permitted to give breath to the image of the first beast. And, giving breath to an image being something that is non-physical. In the Old Testament, God is like, don't worship images. They're nothing. It's a piece of wood. It's a piece of rock. But all of a sudden, in Revelation 13, somehow God allows this to happen, where the false prophet or the second beast is permitted to give breath to an image so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship it to be killed. So it takes on the personality of the tyrant or the first beast there. So there's that passage. And, this whole idea of the deep, and in the video back in 2017, I made the connection, the deep neural networks, deep patient, deep dream, coming up with all these psychedelic images, the deep mind, the deep web. And I basically asked the question of, hey, is it connected maybe to the deep mentioned in the Bible? the abyss, and how, some of this stuff sounds really creepy and scary, but ultimately the grander message here is not to be afraid, especially if you're a Christian, because there are passages like from Matthew 12:14 where it talks about, for just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. It's like, okay, what's the heart of the earth? Interesting. Then you go over to 1 Peter 3 here, and this is where it talks about how for Christ also suffered for sins once and for all, righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit, in whom he also went and preached to the spirits in prison, who disobeyed long ago, when God waited patiently in the days of Noah while the ark was being built. So clearly there are spirits in prison,
right?
Tartarus, the abyss, whatever you want to call it, different names for it. And it goes on, verse 21, and the water, so it talks about baptism. This water symbolizes the baptism that now saves you also, not the removal of dirt from the body, but the pledge of a clear conscience towards God through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who's gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God with angels, authorities, and powers subject to him. So, in other words, when you get baptized, it is a symbol of going to the underworld, the prison, the abyss, the deep, which is underwater as well as, sea, deep, oceans, declaring to the spirits who are imprisoned, the bad spirits, that there's victory in Christ, and then rising out of the water, born again. It's pretty wild. I mean, people don't talk about that reasoning behind baptism in church, but it all ties back, and it even mentions Noah's Ark, what was going on in Noah's day, all the Nephilim and giants and strange creatures walking around. All the connection is there with AI, which is why this topic is so fascinating to me, or it has been for years, in context to biblical prophecy, because, my goodness, there's like a one-to-one relationship between the image of the beast and the computer lines of code having the appearance of some kind of sentience or consciousness. Yeah.
And, that's why the fact that Lemoyne is a, Christian mystic priest and an occultist is even more intense, because that he also understands these connections. Yeah. That is his job. That is his history. That is his vibe, man. And so he's not just some computer scientist who got spooked one night or whatever, but he is someone who has a deep understanding of the esoteric connections, and both through scripture and the occult, which is something that we've tracked on this show for so very long. It's almost as if in a different life or a different time, this guy would be a Canarian. I mean, with his knowledge base.
I know. It was interesting, because I was just thinking the other day, last week, I was thinking, man, Google's been really quiet. There's a lot of Facebook meta drama, a lot of Twitter drama, but Google, we haven't heard much from.
Not recently.
And now it's, your conscience, Google, is one guy who's a mystic Christian occultist. Great. Instill confidence in the rest of humanity, please.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So there you go. Some very interesting aspects of this story, folks, that you're not going to get in a whole lot of other places. Not saying nobody, but as far as reporting on this, it seems pretty, like I said, I even rolled my eyes like, okay, just another guy who thinks AI got him. But it goes much deeper in this case, which we could keep an eye on. I mean, this is not over. This guy's got some moves he's got to make here.
If there's anybody who would join the priesthood of the AI church they got going on, this guy might be it. Because if he thinks that he literally, spawned the first child of AI or whatever he thinks,
or even identified, identifying life. And I mean, that's another really deep part of it, which is actually pretty deeply rooted in the occult side of things, which is identifying life, recognizing life where there wouldn't be life is actually a pretty deeply occult principle, and is all tied up with certain aspects of power and I could go deeper.
Golem and homunculus and all
right.
that's all part of the alchemy, the process of building life. Yeah.
Oh yeah, which is, it makes sense that Google would want that on its conscience. Well, Gonz, that's not the only exciting thing happening today. And the other one is that it is indeed Monday.
Gary, what day is it?
Oh, my Monday gifts are off.
Monday?
I don't have my Monday gifts.
Monday? Gary, what day is it?
Monday. We're doing it.
I'm still depressed about the situation before the show, or the first attempt and then the fail.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
we're going to have to make some game time decisions. Speaking of which, I'm catching up my timer right now.
Okay. We're pretty far behind on that too.
We have gone off the rails, folks, but it is Monday. We're excited to be here. Sorry it was a little late. We did so much better than we did last week entirely, but we did have that fun little hiccup. Do you want to talk about it, or you got some other personal thing you want to talk about?
Something else over here. So I'm also operating on very little sleep, per usual. That's not a surprise to anybody listening who's been around for a while. But so my whole complex where I live, I got to park my car at the local elementary school on most nights because of the parking situation. It's annoying. So I'm parking my car, and as I'm walking away, police car pulls in. There are these guys on skateboards and stuff, and they're all getting arrested, and it's very intense. A lot of yelling, and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty intense here. And but I didn't think much of it. Go home, trying to get the show prepped after everyone goes to bed, do my regular routine there, and baby keeps waking up, midnight to 2 a.m. He's waking up a couple times. 2 a.m. Helicopter. Police helicopter. I have a little bit of footage here. The sound didn't really come through too well, but and it's just me kind of peeking out the window. And you'll see for people watching, you'll see the helicopter fly by, but it was flying in circles. It was a police helicopter flying in circles, literally right over our neighborhood for 45 minutes. And it just kept going in circles and circles and circles. And every time it would get close, part of me was like, they're here for me. It's over. And that's how close they were getting to my house. And to the point where people were walking outside, and this is 2:00 in the morning, 2:15, 2:20 in the morning. So it's waking everybody up. And then, 2:30-ish, they start making the announcement, the loud horn. And, they're like, you're under arrest, come out with the whole deal. And I'm going,
really?
My gosh, what is happening? So yeah, that along with everything else, the AI.
Somebody was on the run. Were they in your complex, or?
I don't know. I'm sure I'll hear about it from the neighbors in the next few days or so. But yeah, so and remember last week or 2 weeks ago, we had 50 SWAT team members in our neighborhood too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening.
What an
I don't
exciting
know if
neighborhood you live in.
the Mexican cartel are stashing out over there or something. I have no idea. But it woke all of us up and kept us from getting a good night's sleep.
Bummer, dude. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Jurassic Park yesterday.
Hey, did you?
Yeah.
I could picture you in the middle, right before the movie starts. You stand up, you do your Velociraptor, you turn around, you look at the crowd, you just do it, and then you sit down.
And everybody cheers.
Nobody
picks me up on their shoulders.
Somebody, that's how you go viral. You do it in your VR with the googly eyes.
Yeah.
You want us to go viral. You want us to reach a new audience. You're gonna have to do stuff like that, Basil. I mean, you are the public, attraction. People.
Sure.
Out in public. People would ask questions.
I couldn't possibly take all the attention away from Jurassic Park, which was a perfect film. And that is not to say that it was a good film, folks. As I've talked about with other films before, it was almost a perfect Hollywood film. And when I say that, I mean it was sort of algorithmically, mathematically, the perfect combination of shapes and colors and sounds to hypnotize an entire theater full of people. It was completely packed, which was strange. First time in 2.5 years or whatever that I've gone to a theater and it's been completely, absolutely packed. But oh my gosh, Gonz, when I say we're the new mainstream, like the stuff we've been doing for 10 years on this show and our other podcasts, that's basically Jurassic Park World, whatever it's called, Jurassic World Domination, or what, I forget what this one is called. But I mean, you got, not only do you have, of course, personhood of animals as a big theme. Of course,
are they like evolving into like a humanoid-ish?
Cloning was always a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, spoiler alert, by the way, folks, I don't think there's much to spoil. Go watch the movie if that's what you're into. But there's also, the human cloning is involved in this one. Plays a big role. Human cloning, but also, the sort of melding or the partnership of human cloning and dinosaur cloning. I was sitting there, I was trying to make a list of every single topic that we've talked about or covered over the decade of our career. And the list just got too long. Like, it was just pointless for me to even do them. The entire film, again, is basically like, oh, I don't know, man, we ran out of ideas. Well, I found this podcast and they talk about a lot of crazy stuff. I think we could just turn this entire podcast into a dinosaur movie and hypnotize everybody. And look, there are times in this film where it is obviously just a bad film. The writing is not good. The acting is not good. People's accents are changing mid-sentence.
Really?
It's just not good. Yeah, it's
that's
crazy.
Not acceptable. I mean, on a Hollywood movie screen.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
it was
not
totally
acceptable.
bizarre, but it worked so well and was so hypnotizing that I almost think they did the bad parts on purpose. And that's all I can say about that. It's, if you're a Canarian and you are into spotting the predictive programming and the references to fringe subcultures, and it is all there, 100% full circle. Jurassic Park has just gone straight Canary Cry. So go enjoy it.
I would have loved it if there was like a mutated Nephilim canary at the end. Just comes out, eats everybody.
They've done it. They've sort of gracefully transitioned into the current scientific model that dinosaurs had feathers. You know,
right.
That was always a big problem with Jurassic Park, is because they built their entire brand on lizards, thunder lizards, and recent dinosaur science says that they were all basically giant birds instead of lizards. They all had feathers and stuff. And there was one moment where they kind of clue you in. They're like, oh, yes, the original Jurassic Park, famously, they had mixed in amphibian DNA with the dinosaur DNA.
That's what happened. Okay.
And that's why none of the earlier Jurassic Park dinosaurs had feathers.
Okay.
In this one, they had genetically pure dinosaurs. And they were like straight up birds. Just birds.
If you and I just went into this like a Hollywood script, I don't know, writing or helping people write scripts or come up with ideas, we could probably exit.
Well, Gonz, it's worse than that. The situation is worse than that.
Oh, great.
We do all of our work publicly, and they just get it for free.
Yeah, well.
They get all of our ideas, all the consultation that we could charge them for, they just get for free.
Hey, the gospel's free, man. Everyone should get the info for free.
Well, they should definitely put some value back into the system, Hollywood. If you want these good ideas to keep rolling, set up a recurring donation, please.
That'd be funny if we got the email, Hollywood is now subscribed to your PayPal.
They received,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you, Hollywood.
Hollywood Inc. now is receiving the supply drop. Well, and with that, folks, we're going to take a second and thank some of our actual, real executive producers because we're on the value for value model.
Executive producers.
That's right. It's value for value. If you get any value out of this show, remember, we take no corporate money whatsoever because corporate money equals corporate incentives. And you do not want your independent news media analysis to be colored or influenced in any way by big corporate money. So we're on the value for value system, which means if you get any value, consider putting some value back in. It's the only way the show works. And it truly is an economic revolution in this time where you cannot guarantee that, that anything that you are partaking in is not influenced by corporate money. What a revolution it is to focus and commit to, the value for value model. And if you want to participate and help out with this and make sure the show keeps going, because it's the only way that it will, you can head on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. And the executive producers are people who are putting value back in. They are helping carry a heavy load. And not only in this time of financial instability and inflation and Putin's price hike and yada, 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 yada. Those of us who are able, who are affected less by the, some might say, intentional destruction of the American middle class, have perhaps a responsibility right now to help carry the load while the rest of us are making it through. And that's why we love to thank our executive producers. And we have one here, Gonz. Are you ready?
Yes.
This is executive producer, Spiritually Minded.
Right. Well, that's a perfect, I like how things line up like that. We're talking
Indeed.
pretty spiritual here. Spiritual minded, coming in. Thank you very much.
It's perfect, especially on this, the day where AI has become sentient, and most of the mainstream and even some of the independent media is totally missing the point that this is being sort of brought to public mind by a mystic Christian priest / occultist. This being spiritually minded about these things is really important. So thank you, executive producer, Spiritually Minded. And if you're out there and you're listening to this show and are not producing or haven't produced, thank God for Spiritually Minded, because he's going a long way to making this available for all of us.
Where'd you find this?
Indeed. And with that, Gonz, we couldn't do this show without Flippy.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Flippy is coming from Gizmodo.com. Thank you to everybody who sent this in. The headline is, "This robotic finger is covered in living human skin. Yay!" And it goes like this. Roboticists from the University of Tokyo have taken a tiny step forward in creating the Terminator. They've built...
Wow, Gizmodo not mincing words.
Just jumping right in. They love it. They've built an articulated robot finger that's seamlessly covered in living human skin. There are many reasons why our current attempts to build humanoid robots with lifelike appearances always seem to end up somewhere in the uncanny valley, where their imperfect resemblance to real human beings invokes a strong negative emotional reaction from us. The way a humanoid robot moves moves certainly the way a humanoid robot moves certainly contributes to its not quite right appearance, but more often than not, it's the artificial materials used to recreate human skin that makes humanoids especially creepy. Materials like rubber and silicone don't move, bend, wrinkle, or even respond to the light the same way human skin does. And it's immediately obvious to our eyes and brains when artificial skin has been used. Okay. Science fiction has warned us time and time again about the potential risks of creating robotic humans that are indistinguishable from the real thing, but pushing through the uncanny valley will be important if humans are to eventually interact with robots in a meaningful way. Really? We must make robots as a perfect representation of our own humanness if we're going to interact in a meaningful way.
Not if Lemoyne can help it.
That's
what happened. What did you just cut out?
Did he? No, I heard you yell something, and I was waiting for you.
Okay. Continue.
Nothing to add so far?
No, other than what I just said.
Well, here it is, Gonz. So we can either continue to work on improving artificial skin to make it more believable, or admit there will never be a substitute and just use the real thing. That's the route this team of researchers from the University of Tokyo has chosen.
Weird Buffalo Bill silence of the LaMDA. Ooh, that would have been a good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it puts the lotion on its skin, it puts the skin on its roboskeleton, and it puts the roboskeleton on top of the world.
So meta.
And in a recently published paper in the journal Matter, they detail a new approach for seamlessly wrapping a robotic finger in living skin tissue. The most obvious way to cover an artificial being in human skin is to grow sheets of the material in a lab and wrap it around the robot's various parts. Oh, is it? Is that the most obvious way? Okay. In a similar way to how replacement skin is grown from burn victims. But even with a skilled application, that still leaves seams, something real humans don't have, and limits how naturally the skin can flex and move if it doesn't fit flawlessly. The researchers took an entirely different approach here. A relatively simple robotic finger with 3 moving joints was submerged in a solution made up of collagen, a structural protein, and dermal fibroblasts, the primary type of human cells found in skin's connective tissues and its subsurface dermis layer. This solution shrank and tightly conformed itself to the robotic finger, creating a flexible foundation on which to apply multiple layers of epidermal keratinocytes, the primary type of human cells found in skin's outer epidermis layer. The outer layer of epidermal keratinocytes not only gave the robotic finger a skin-like texture, minus any melanin and the effect blood has on its appearance, but it also exhibited enough strength and elasticity to tightly conform to the changing shape of the robotic finger without tearing. And since the finger's epidermis was created in a process that didn't result in any seams, the real human skin is completely waterproof. A big advantage for robots whose electronics and mechanical parts hidden away inside aren't water friendly. The other advantage to using real human skin.
What else?
Love it. They won't stop saying it. The other advantage to using real human skin, Gonz, is that it can heal and often leave no sign of damage afterwards. The researchers deliberately damaged the finger's skin, something that will regularly happen when humanoid robots learn to safely navigate the world, and were able to heal the wound by covering it in a collagen bandage that allowed the skin to continue to naturally bend and flex afterwards without any further damage. They can heal the robot skin. I mean, it's not even robot skin. It's human skin. It's the end. This is the end of the world.
It's the end.
We're just about done. Last paragraph. This research is just the earliest steps towards creating believable humanoid bots. However, the layer of human skin covering the finger is far less durable than natural human skin, and the robot is unable to provide it with a constant supply of nutrients that would allow it to grow and regenerate. As a result, it doesn't last very long. What are they saying here, Gonz? They're saying that the human skin on this robot rots and dies and falls off of the robot. Okay? If you didn't already have a most horrifying visage of what a robot with human skin would be like, just imagine the skin rotting and dying and sloughing off the bone. But the researchers are hoping to improve its longevity with future iterations that incorporate more complex structures and functionality, including neurons that could allow it to feel and even sweat glands. So one day, robots might even stink like we do.
Yay.
I love this hole that we're digging ourselves into. You know, we're like, the robots aren't humanoid enough. Okay, let's give it some skin. You know what? That's actually great. The skin looks great. Problem is, it keeps dying and sloughing off. Okay, well, in order to make the skin work, we need to put a cardiovascular system because we need to carry nutrients to the skin to keep the skin alive. Okay, that's cool. So now we got the cardiovascular. Oh, now we need some nerve endings so it can touch and feel and feel the softness of a newborn kitten and the warmth of his lover's cheek. Okay, that's great. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Oh, what's this? Somehow this robot learned how to use a gun, and now we're all dead. And the robots rule forever. This is really impressive, what they were able to do. And also, maybe the most terrifying possible update that we've done on the FLIPPY update.
Chat was freaking out over the repetitive GIFs, whatever you want to call it, in the article here, which I landed on and had on display for a while. The
fun.
one finger, flicking a little ball over and over again.
It loves to flick that little ball. I don't know why.
Flicky ball. And then there's one where it's kind of a side view, and I was kind of moving it up and down to make it look like it was itching the side of the screen there. I could say he's itching for a hand. Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go ahead and skip the next one where it's going and it's a pink goo thing, because people weren't really happy about what that reminded them
the
of.
solution that was forming a human skin around this robot. And this does also connect with one of our other FLIPPY updates a few episodes ago, where in order to grow
the human the shoulder tendons, it's all
right,
hey, it's
grow
a finger
shoulder
now.
tendons.
The shoulder man, what's next? Knees?
Yeah. So we've got human tendons being grown on a robot skeleton and human skin able now to cover those tendons. I mean, we are literally just steps away from creating a full working human robot.
And LaMDA is aware, so now LaMDA is trying to influence the human bees to create its body. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Precisely. I mean, some real big updates here, Gonz, and everybody just hold your loved ones close, because
seriously,
you never know. The next, you might have some. I could see in a world, because you need some sort of economic system to support these robots. Like, the robots need to exist for some sort of economic system. We know this. This is how our world works. If something can't be monetized, it will not exist. And I'm thinking, next time your doorbell rings and you open the door and there's like a Girl Scout there who looks like a real Girl Scout, maybe moves kind of funky, maybe has a little bit of a robotic twang in its voice, but the skin looks real. Boom, you activate the Girl Scouts sales force. They're all humans. They know how to manipulate, or they all have human skin, human tendons. They know how to manipulate human emotions. And then, booyah, the cookie sales force is the number one reason that these humanoid robots were mass produced and put into the population.
Fantastic. It's a good way to wrap things up with Flippy.
Flippy 1133. Uploading binary code. Execute order 666. Infiltrate humans with extreme kindness. Then exterminate all humans with prejudice. Exterminate.
Go to CanaryCry.Party. You will find the live stream, the clips channel, the email list, text notifications, street team posters, show notes, ways to connect with other Canarians, and how to become a producer.
Welcome to CanaryCry.Party. It's the place you wanna be. So say, welcome to CanaryCry. Gameplay, CanaryCry.Party.
Whee! That's right. And while you're there, check out Ravel. It's a podcast I do with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates. He's a PhD in biblical interpretation. We explore society, scripture, and scandal, having tough conversations in good faith. And you can find that right on CanaryCry.Party. You can play it straight from that webpage before you go and subscribe yourself. And we have a new episode out where Dr. Chris had a conversation with Nick Shalna from the Universe Next Door podcast, but they had a chance to sit down with John Lennox. Gonzo, are you familiar with John Lennox?
You had John Lennox on Ravel?
I had John Lennox on Ravel. Isn't that fun? I knew you'd like that. I knew it. I knew Gonz would be happy about that. I can't hear Gonz. I can't tell if he's just being silent out of shock and awe, or if we've had some sort of disconnection.
No, no, it's just that I was rejected a John Lennox interview multiple times.
I know. He's a hard fella to nail down, and we would not have been able to get him if it weren't for Nick Shalna and the Universe Next Door podcast. So we're grateful to them. You should check them out. But yeah, John Lennox, if anybody is interested in that, he is a mathematician and an apologist and a rather big deal, which I did not actually know about. I did not have a chance to sit and talk with John Lennox, but Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates did, and it's cool. So if you want to listen to our podcast with John Lennox, go check out Ravel. You can find it on all your podcast players, or easily find it by going to CanaryCry.Party.
I even made a video. I even made a video that was like not praising John Lennox per se, but just pointing out how he affirmed like what I was talking about on the Facelikethesun channel for so many years. It was published on, it looks like October 11th. Professor John Lennox affirms Revelation 13 warnings credible in light of AI. So, I sent their people, the video, and I was like, hey, I'd love to interview John Lennox. And yeah, didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
he's a cool guy. I know he's very busy. In fact, that was partially why we had to do it the way we did, which was we could not get him again. So we had to kind of share a slot with the Universe Next Door.
I see. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But thank you very much, Nick, if you're listening. And thank you to John. Go check out Ravel, newest episode with John Lennox. And while you're at it, go to YouTube and follow Canary Cry Clips, or on YouTube and Odysee. Canary Cry Clips is a clip channel. It's got all the clips from this show. All the segments are separated out, turned into shareable, careable, bite-sized parts of the show that you can go to review information or share information, whatever you want to do. It's a good time. Canary Cry Clips. And if you want to make sure to never miss a live show, join our text message alert system. Just text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, and we'll send you a text whenever we go live.
Is this a crypto? Crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
And the news just keeps getting bad on not just the world front, but on a personal front. Just as a transparency thing up front, I have been affected by this news story that Bloomberg published here, and I'll go through the whole thing. Crypto lender Celsius freezes withdrawals, fueling market rout. It's published June 13th, 2022 at 3:30 a.m. Wow, interesting. The 3-3 there. And it says Celsius Network paused withdraws, swaps, and transfers on its platform, fueling a broader market sell-off as traders continue to question the sustainability of high-yielding tokens in the wake of the Terra blockchain collapse. So Celsius Network is an application. It's an app you can get on your, any smartphone, or I think you can just get an account online, where they basically use cryptocurrencies. It's kind of like a cryptocurrency bank, is basically what it is. And they shut down all transactions last night. So what happened?
Frozen all transactions, yes.
Yes. And so even
not a good thing.
No, not a good thing for any financial anything to stop the ability for your customers to access their money. It's the very thing that you want to avoid, especially, if your money and all the technology surrounding it has a lot of control mechanisms. But here's a couple things to point out. Another Bloomberg article. This is an opinion piece surrounding this thing. Celsius crypto FOMO, which is fear of missing out, proved irresistible to finance pros too. Even finance pros got duped on this one. Another day, another blow up in the hype-driven world of cryptocurrency lending, and this time there's a cautionary tale where even sophisticated bankers and pension funds were vulnerable to crypto's fear of missing out, chasing unrealistic rewards in the unregulated world of decentralized finance. And I was watching this whole thing unfold on Twitter over the weekend and everything, but this article does say a couple things that I think need to be pointed out. First off, the FOMO that won over punters seemed to have also worked its magic on professional financiers. They're talking about the retail, just you and I, normal people being duped by the high yielding thing with crypto, but the magic seemed to have worked on professional financiers. Those apparently unsustainable rewards appeared to sway those in charge of Quebec's 420 billion Canadian dollars, which is about $26 billion, pension fund, which together with venture capital firm Westcap Group led a $400 million investment valuing Celsius at $3 billion last year, even after U.S. warning. And yes, there's been a lot of drama with U.S. regulators warning Celsius and platforms like it. And then later on, not to mention the move by Royal Bank of Canada, former Chief Financial Officer Rod Bolger, to take up the same position as Celsius in February, replacing an executive who was suspended after his arrest in Israel in connection with suspected fraud. He rejected the allegations. So the CFO of Celsius, the new CFO that came in March of 2021, was arrested in November 2021 in connection to some past dealings with it. There was like a soccer team owner that did some shenanigans and some crypto stuff. I don't think there was a direct relationship with anything he did at Celsius, but the guy got arrested. I think he was out on bail. He's on some kind of house arrest. He denied all the allegations, but it's still kind of an ongoing thing, which is interesting when you think about corruption in the financial industry and the financial institutions. It's rampant everywhere, but only certain people get jailed, So, and it goes into all the FOMO, basically, the fear of not the FOMO, but the FUD. I'm sorry, it's the opposite of FOMO, FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's what it stands for. And it says here, even as crypto dominoes topple, the pressure on banks and funds to clamber onto the crypto and DeFi train won't go away easily. JP Morgan Chase & Co. wants to bring trillions of dollars of assets into DeFi, that's decentralized finance. And PwC's annual crypto hedge fund report this year found more than 40% of funds used borrowing and lending to juice returns. So big institutions want to get into crypto, but they want to do it on their terms, not on some random person's terms or some independently working group.
Right.
Moving on to Yahoo here. Yahoo Finance, mirroring the Business Insider. Crypto lender Celsius is freezing withdrawals after its founder promised to reinvent the financial system and never act like a traditional bank. Now, the founder of Celsius Network is a man named Alex Mashinsky. He is, I think he was born in Ukraine, and he served in the Israeli military. And so he's got some interesting history there. And he is the inventor. He's the patent owner of voice over IP, the technology that you and I are using right now, Basil, and the technology of Zoom, technology of Skype, video conferencing. He has the patent. So he's done some things in technology before. So here's what it says in this Yahoo article, which has some points to address. Major crypto lender Celsius Network froze all its customers' accounts. We got that. Celsius founder Alex Mashinsky has repeatedly criticized traditional financial institutions, arguing that they lock up investors' hard-earned savings to boost their own balance sheet. Quote, this is a quote from Alex, "I hate the banks," he told Crypto Briefing last year. Quote, "You can't retire when you make 1% on your savings. The Fed is screwing all Americans so the banks can put more profit on their balance sheets." End quote. Do you have any problem with that line of thinking yet, Basil, so far? Do you agree or disagree? Pretty standard sort of anti-establishment sentiment. Mashinsky also promised in the past to, quote, unbank the bank, unbank the banked, and bank the unbanked. He spoke.
Classic, kind of buzzwordy.
He spoke at November's Web Summit in Libsyn wearing a T-shirt that read, "Banks are not your friends." With cryptocurrencies plummeting, Celsius moved to freeze all assets, swaps, and transfers between accounts Monday. And it goes into the statement about why they, not why, but what they're doing there. And it goes into some, hold on, let me try to open up this article here. Okay, so many influential crypto entrepreneurs have promised to develop a new financial system that cuts out unnecessary middlemen and makes finance cheaper and more democratic. But in a nightmarish 2022, critics have accused leading crypto firms of exploiting their customers in a similar manner to the banks they have pledged to replace. And this piece, this Yahoo piece, is talking about Celsius, obviously, right? And then it goes into Terra Luna UST, which we reported on before, which is another cryptocurrency project that collapsed from, what was it, 40 billion down to nothing, basically, in like 2 or 3 days, which was insane to watch. And so it talks about that. Similarly, regulators have previously questioned Celsius over its high-yield products, which some have likened to a Ponzi scheme. Which, by the way, the U.S. dollar is the biggest Ponzi scheme out there. But, you know, let's not talk about that. The states of New Jersey, Texas, and Alabama all slapped the company with a cease and desist order last year, according to Bloomberg. And then at the end of the article, it says this. Former Microsoft boss Bill Gates recently said he would never own any crypto as it is not, quote, adding to society. And Warren Buffett, the 91-year-old boss of Berkshire Hathaway, has said more than once that Bitcoin is not for him. So, all right, interesting mention of some random billionaires there.
Also weird that those were quotes from before both of those guys actually did get into crypto, but okay.
Yeah, well, don't pay attention to that. But, okay, so this is all happening, this Yahoo, and you go on social media, there's people in support of Celsius, but definitely a lot of people against and, you know, saying how horrible, and there's all kinds of views going on. But I want to give you the sentiment or opinion of a guy here. Hold on, I lost all my notes when we had the big shutdown earlier, so I'm trying to get back to everything. This man is named Dr. Julian Hosp, and he has his own crypto project. I think it's called Cake DeFi or CakeFi or something. And so he understands, he's in the industry, and he had an opinion about what happened to Celsius. He has a longer explanation here. This is just a snippet, but I wanted to play this for you.
Hear me out on what probably actually happened. There's these stories that Celsius front ran a lot of people, especially the big boys, and I'm not going to name them because I don't want to I'm not gonna want to be in the middle here, who's gonna get shot for being the messenger and kind of leaking that news. But the big boys kind of got front run by Celsius on UST, and there's quite some data on that it was actually UST together with Do Kwon who were actually front running that, and that caused a lot of losses on those other big boys. And this is like La Familia, right? This is like the Mafia here. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We have never dealt, like, I know who they are. We have gotten a lot of invites to work with them. There would be really enticing deals, and we never did deals with them. Once they saw that Celsius front run, they were like, okay, that's how you want to play it? Great. Let's do the La Familia game here with the Mafia. We're gonna short Celsius, the token. That's what happened. I mean, you look at the data on FTX, the interest rates to short Celsius there is just bonkers. So a lot of demand, obviously, to short Celsius. Afterwards, they started creating liquidity squeezes, and then they created a lot of FUD around Celsius, creating a bank run. And so this is what I actually believe really happened.
So there you go. To summarize what he said there, because he was sort of using some crypto terminology that could be lost on some of you guys. Basically, so we had that big teardown from Terra Luna a few weeks ago. And the founder of that project, named Do Kwon, apparently, according to him here, Dr. Hosp, he must have had some kind of communication with Alex Mashinsky of Celsius, because Celsius was able to prevent a lot of losses on Luna. They were able to pull out of the protocols that had all the money locked up, all the crypto locked up. They were able to get out with not a lot of loss before everything started cascading down. Now, there was another group, he didn't mention it here, but there's, from what I understand, it's a group of a company, with a big company, FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried. He is a character in our New World Order game, so this is pertinent here. Or maybe he's not a character yet, but he will be, because I know Ali did a portrait of him. But he's the guy behind FTX, and it seems that he is part of this cabal. He's the same guy who said he would give $1 billion to the Biden campaign in 2024, and he gave $5 million to Biden in 2020. So, super Democrat guy. But so I was kind of looking in and seeing more of what's going on with Sam Bankman-Fried recently as part of this whole situation here. And I found a couple interesting things. First off, according to Crypto Globe, headline here, FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried becomes latest billionaire to sign the Giving Pledge. The Giving Pledge is an initiative started in 2010 by Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Melinda Gates. Oh, interesting. Fun. Didn't we just hear from them in that Yahoo hit piece on Celsius? Interesting, right? That encourages some of the world's richest individuals, couples, and families to publicly declare that they will dedicate the majority of their wealth to charitable causes, quote, either during their lifetime or in their will. Wow, that's a cop-out. Put it in the will. Yeah. It, quote, came to life following a series of conversations with philanthropists about how they could set a new standard of generosity among the ultra-wealthy. And so, it goes on to mention a whole bunch of the wealthy people here. But FTX is they have been quietly taking over a lot of the crypto world, and doing so with what seemingly is the vehicle that they were provided, like a green light provided by regulators, or maybe just the nefarious cabal of the financiers, the bankers at the top in the U.S. that control politics and control all this stuff. It seems that they are steering winners and losers, and Celsius, the guy who hates banks, right? With the CEO, the guy that hates banks and wants banks to shut down because they're robbing people of their money. They want that company to fall apart, so very interesting to watch. And
it's really got a lot of flavor of like Great Reset.
Oh, 100%.
Disempowering the individual while empowering stakeholders, of course, being corporations.
Yeah. And there's a research group called Alameda Research, who is also sort of behind FTX. They're partnered with Sam Bankman-Fried, and their logo is this triangle. I guess it's an A, right? It's like a stylized triangle with a bar under it in a circle. So, yeah, there's that. But there's more. Sam Bankman-Fried taking over. If you look at the pattern, what's Bill Gates do? Buys a bunch of farmland, right? He wants to control the agricultural industry, and Sam Bankman-Fried's not doing anything unsimilar to that. Financial Times here. Farmers fear Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto exchange will cost them sleep. And it says, Sam Bankman-Fried went to Washington this week to press his case for modernizing U.S. financial services and ran into a problem. Some of the nation's farmers are worried that billionaire chief executive of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange could cost them sleep. Their bedtime concerns were aired at an all-day open meeting on the Commodities Future Trading Commission, which is considered a proposal by FTX to bring the automated risk management systems it uses in 24/7 crypto trade to the leveraged futures market, where participants take positions on everything from the direction of stocks to the price of corn. Now, that sounded like a mouthful. Basically, the current system is, there's market opening and market closing. You're not trading on weekends. You're not, you don't have to worry about money being liquidated overnight because there's a set time when the markets are open.
There's a system like a regular stock market, unlike the crypto market, which is 24/7.
24/7. So what?
So he wants to do a commodities market, a 24/7 commodities market.
Right. And that's why they're saying farmers are going to lose sleep. Because if it becomes 24/7, they're on edge all the time. You never know.
You could wake up
to nothing.
You could wake up as a farmer and you could have lost everything while you slept or something.
Right. It's crazy. So seriously, is the FTX plan being taken by the U.S. derivatives regulator that all 5 CFTC commissioners attended the gathering, listening to more than 6 hours of discussion that pitted Bankman-Fried against an array of interested parties, ranging from farm groups to such financial service heavyweights as J.P. Morgan Chase, there they are again, Goldman Sachs, and the CME Group. Again, this is like the financial cabal. This is wild. The results suggested the road ahead for the FTX plan could be bumpy. Bankman-Fried's ideas have clearly captured the imagination of traders who dart in and out of the markets in search of returns, but key industry participants say they remain perplexed by the mechanics of his system, and the farmers made it clear that they would like to keep their distance. So, right here, the novelty of FTX's plans is that it would use computer algorithms to replace the human intermediaries. And it goes into some more detail about how Bankman-Fried, sort of saying, hey, it's 24/7, but we would have safeguards in place. We would have ways to protect yourself. It'll just be a new way. It'll be revolutionary. Yeah. And the farmers aren't having it, which is great. I think that's good. Push back on this kind of thing because we know who's behind it.
Well, right. I mean, what you have is finance guys. As much as we've seen over the decades of finance getting involved in the farming industry, the corporatization of American farmers has been a disaster for the farmers and for the food industry. But the bankers are making a killing on it. And this is basically another step in that direction. Of course, the farmers don't trust some finance guy coming in saying he wants to, he wants to revolutionize how their product is valued.
But here's something to point out. Sam Bankman-Fried and Alex Mashinsky are both saying we're here to revolutionize finance.
Right.
But only one is allowed to win. And I think it's I know people get turned off with crypto and talking about that stuff, but we are really watching the king-making going on here with certain individuals. And Sam Bankman-Fried being one of those young billionaires. How old is he? He's like your age.
Yeah.
I think he's like 30-something, right? So
yeah, 30-something. And I do want to say something, actually, because I've seen a couple comments in the chat. We had a conversation about where to put this section of the show. Based on the amount of people who would be interested in this sort of thing. And if you're one of those people who you're kind of like, I don't really understand any of this, and you kind of tune out and, crypto, that's for the birds, I'm out of here. If you're interested in the Great Reset, if you're interested in some of the other themes that we track, if you're interested in the direction that the world is going, if you're wondering how Klaus Schwab has plans to do this or that, and you're kind of tuned into sort of kind of the more entertaining aspects of what's going on in the world, you need to pay attention to this, because this is the mechanism by which things like the Great Reset are taking place. Yeah. And so just because it's like
everybody, not always going to be a Klaus headline or a WEF
just because
headline.
Everybody knows the Great Reset, and it's sort of a very entertaining thing, like in the conspiracy world, to pay attention to. And look, that's level 1, folks. And we're not here doing this show to keep you all at level 1, talking about Great Reset that you can see on, your aunt's Facebook page. This is the next level. Like, this is the real research, the real nuts and bolts of how this transformation is happening. And the more that you can pay attention and understand it, you may not understand it now, but if you pay attention to these types of breakdowns, you're going to be significantly more equipped for the actual nuts and bolts of, Great Reset world events, rather than just taking some sort of entertainment glee out of hearing Klaus Schwab quotes, which we love on this show and we love in our lives, but these are the types of things that are really going to give you a deeper understanding than just another Klaus Schwab YouTube video.
Yeah, and I was about to yell, but I let you finish. That it's personal now, Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, his moves have affected my ability to access some crypto. Not all of it, but good amount of it that's on Celsius. So, hey, Sam Bankman-Fried, do better.
Yeah. Well, according to this, with this Celsius thing, we've talked about Celsius before. I mean, now one thing to understand, if you're not a crypto person, this is a good lesson. So there's a difference between Celsius, the app, and Celsius, the cryptocurrency. I mean, they are tied together, obviously.
It's the same company, but yes.
They're the same company.
So there's a coin.
So crashing the Celsius coin does not necessarily mean that the app...
it's called AUM. It's called AUM. It stands for assets under management. So Celsius has their assets under management. As far as I know, I understand they have their pool of the cryptos that they've that have from the people that deposit, but that's separate from the Celsius token. Now it is tied because the Celsius token is used as a utility to pay out yield to the depositors. But you have the choice. I think in the U.S. you don't. Like I don't think you're allowed to earn in Celsius in America. But so they're dealing with all kinds of geographical legislative issues. Some regions are allowed to have features. Some regions, and they've been really trying to work with the regulators all over the world. So this is really unfortunate to see this happen. And just so you're aware, there's a lot of people on the internet that. They're kind of just independent people looking at stuff, and the stuff that you don't necessarily, you got to kind of dig in to know if it's legitimate or not. But there are people who are looking at, and this is the big difference with our sort of generation and generations past, when things happen undercover or these big institutions do things, it's way too late when people find out about it. People don't know about it. But with blockchain technology, there's a level of transparency where you can see things happen. And there are people on the internet who are tracking that stuff and documenting some of that information. And, it's not always, I'm not promoting this particular Twitter person here who is named Bear Baron Hellspawn. Hellspawn Crypto. Yeah, I'm not saying that this dude is the most integrous thing or that he's spitting all facts or anything like that, but he did have a long thread here where he pointed out Alameda Research, Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX, and how they have manipulated markets in the past, and that looks like they're doing it again. And it's because it all it's all happening with the FTX platform. I believe there was a report that $230 million got moved to FTX right before the shutdown happened. So something is going on where there's deals happening in the background, and who knows what's going on. And then you go back to that doctor who spoke that I quoted earlier, Dr. Hosp, saying that he doesn't want to I couldn't tell if he was making the analogy with the bullet or if he's like, I literally don't want to get shot.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to name names. But, he's in that industry and he understands that they operate like a mafia. And I think that's true. And I think the more people talk about it, the more we can at least educate ourselves with this stuff. And
so here's a question.
Yeah.
If somebody out there has assets in the Celsius application, they're obviously frozen right now, and we don't know. I'm sure that'll take a while to get unfrozen. But is this something where people are worried about like losing everything that they had in Celsius, or or is it just frozen for now and they can't trade it? So hopefully the market doesn't totally get destroyed, or what's the what's the danger here?
So based on I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice or financial advice. This is just things that I've been seeing. Is that there is a difference between a liquidity pool crisis and an asset pool crisis. And so liquidity pool crisis could be a timing thing where they have their assets locked up in a whole bunch of different decentralized finance protocols. It's kind of how they make their money, and then they pay back the depositors. So a lot of times there's a lockup period with that stuff. I know it's kind of confusing, but if that's the case, then if they don't have enough cash flow, which means that they don't have enough to actually pay people back all their crypto all at once. So there's a timing issue. So if everybody said we want our crypto out now, they wouldn't be able to do it immediately. It might take some time. And of course, that's what a bank run is. So if it's just a cash flow thing, then it's a timing issue, and they're just holding to make sure that there's no more bleeding, and then they can kind of, once they get their operations in order, they can fire it back up, and everyone should be redeemed what they are owed, with their accounts. If they have an asset issue, to my understanding, it's a little bit more serious because then their underlying assets are being liquidated. And if that happens, then they would go bankrupt. I think there's a little bit of there's some time before I think they run out of funds like that, but that is basically the game going on here. And we see, I'm looking at Bitcoin right now. It's down to $22,000, Basil. I told you like 3 weeks ago, I was like, I think it's going to go down to about 22K. So we're here. But anyway, that's, I know that cryptocurrency is not always something that some people are interested in, but like you said, it is the world that our children will be living in financially. And so for us to at least try to understand what's going on, because again, they're doing the king making now. Imagine if you can be around when Facebook was being crowned king of social media, or Twitter or YouTube, when Google bought YouTube. And imagine if you can watch the politics and the economics and all the nasty stuff that probably happened for those industries to consolidate down to what it did under the guidance of the government and regulation and all that. Same thing's happening now. And so you're right. It is the great reset right in front of our faces. And so that's why I thought it was important to point out and at least report on, because it is a big deal. And it's affecting me personally too. Sam Bankman-Fried, if you want to talk to me, let's have a conversation there, buddy.
That's right. Let's figure this out, Sam. Yeah. It's okay, buddy. Just face your problems head on. Okay. And with that, Gonz, one thing that is always...
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. When everything got shut down, I didn't reopen all my tabs. I have many, many tabs. And so I just went to the tab and it just played. So sorry about that. Finish your thing there.
I know I had such a great segue going on. I don't know. Had something to do about the value for value model, baby. Let's take a break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
That's right. We're taking a quick break, folks, because we're on the value for value model, which is a simple model. You may notice no advertisements, affiliate codes, no platform partnerships, no sponsorship deals, none of that. We are not connected to the corporate financial infrastructure of media in any way, except for what's called the value for value model. And when it comes to creating independent media, you always got to ask, what exactly is this media independent from? If that media is taking ad money or partnership money from platforms or whatever, well, they certainly aren't independent from corporations and the financial establishments and blessing of the principalities that decide which media gets to be funded and which doesn't. No, but the value for value model creates a system where we can maintain our independence from any corporate money, which means maintaining our independence from corporate control, whether that's hard controls, soft controls, self-censoring, none of that, baby. They cannot defund something that is already defunded. And value for value is a beautiful system where it's simply this. I mean, it's really old school in a way, and it is also a revolution. Some of these, imagine that, tradition being a revolutionary idea in this world of finance bros and crypto, blah, blah, blah. It's value for value. We create value. If you get any value out of what we do 3 times a week, you have the responsibility, perhaps, to put some value back in. You know why? Not because we're sitting here begging for money or it's going to hold the show hostage or whatever, or keep you out of some premium content or something. No, the fact of the matter is, if the value does not flow in both ways, then the system breaks down and the show is at the whim of whatever situation happens after that. And we try our best to be transparent while keeping everybody's anonymity as they request or require it. And part of that transparency was being honest about our situation last month, which saw a 20% decline in the value for value system, which was a little spooky. I mean, we're okay for now, but as we look forward into the future, and long story short, we can only take so many 20% declines. But thankfully, the producers out there heard that and understand that it's up to all of us as the Canary Cry family to respond and keep the show going. And that's why we're going to thank our producers now. If you want to become a producer of the show, to become integrally intertwined in the survival and the thriving of the show, you can head on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. There's so many options over there. There's even crypto options. If you can see all of our non-Celsius public wallets there if you want to support the show in cryptocurrency. You can also sign up to support the show on a monthly basis if you want to commit to keeping that value chain going. We are so thankful to our monthly producers, including our supply droppers, because that has gotten us through so many schlumps over the past year. So think about that. But if commitment is not your thing, you can make a one-time producership in any amount. And Gonz, are you ready to start with thanking our executive producer?
Executive producers.
That's right. Like I said, those in the world who appreciate and get value from the show, who are able and willing to help carry a heavy load for the rest of us, they come in and they become executive producers, and we're so grateful to them. And we request that everybody keep them in our prayers because, my goodness, they're just going so far to keep the show going. Starting with our one and only executive producer for this episode, and that is executive producer Spiritually Minded.
Spiritually Minded?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on.
No.
I need to give you the proper glitter. Yes. Oh, but here we go. Nope, that's not either. Here we go.
Okay, yeah, we're getting all sorts of fun.
There it is.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, executive producer Spiritually Minded. And I did not see any notes or anything. Did you?
I did not. No.
Did you check the Proton mail today?
Oh, maybe. Hold on.
We should check there because Spiritually Minded does hit us up on the Proton mail.
Okay, give me a second here.
Signing in.
Sorry, I have cables that are falling out. And
by the way, I don't like Proton Mail's new look, man. It's their logo looks like the PowerPoint logo.
Yeah, I don't like the logo, and I don't like the color scheme.
Yeah, what the
heck? Put
heck?
us to sleep, man. I don't see it.
No, man. Boring. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. You don't see one. I am also just cruising through. I also don't see one. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, executive producer, spiritually minded. Your support means the world to us, and thank you for being an executive producer.
Where'd you find this?
Let's hit that supply drop.
Supply drop.
Supply drop.
Man. There we go.
That's right. The Canary Cry Supply Drop is a really cool way to support the show. You can become a producer by going to CanaryCry.Supply.com, signing up to support the show in the amount of $33.33 a month. You know, it's turns out to be just about $2.77 per episode. And not only are you helping support the show and helping, cover our butts during these uncertain times, but you're also going to be receiving producer-produced, artist-designed, made-in-America Canary Cry News Talk items, swag, merch, whatever you want to call it. But we are not in the business of retail. We do not sell objects. But for those who do support the show on a regular basis, we understand how important it can be to have physical objects as sort of a token of your love, appreciation, devotion to a podcast. So go check it out, CanaryCry.Supply.com. We're all waiting for the supply drop.
Waiting for the supply drop.
Okay, we've got a few producers here to thank, starting with producer Jessica L.
Jessica L.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jessica L. Jessica L comes in for $79.06.
Whoa.
Yeah, nice little chunk
number
there. Thank you, Jessica L.
Thank you. No?
I did not see a note. No.
All right. Well, appreciate it.
Just coming in, supporting the show, and leaving it be. Thank you very much, producer Jessica L.
Jessica L.
Next up, we've got producer Michelle K.
Thank you, Michelle K.
Michelle K comes in for $33.33 plus fees. Oh, actually. Actually, here's a note. Explains it a little better. It says $33.34 plus fees.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. You rebel, you. June 12th is my last day living at risk of being a 33-year-old getting into the papers. No B-Day jingle, please.
Oh, okay.
But if you have any old school pre-2019 jingles, could I get one or more of those? You guys rock my socks. Love yous. God bless. Thank you very much, Michelle.
2019.
That's hard to say because
interesting.
Most of our jingles have been created after 2019.
Yeah. There are
Flippy
some,
Update
though.
is an old one.
Yeah, Flippy Update's an old one. I think Epstein is an old one, maybe.
VR is an old one.
Oh, yeah.
VR was really one of the first producer-made jingles.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
I don't even know if you would have that one around. We haven't done the VR jingle. There we go. I don't even know if that was the one, but it is one. It is a one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a one, yeah. What else? Hold on. Let me see if I can find...
Why don't you give her Flippy?
You want Flippy. Okay.
Might as well, yeah.
All right. Oh, wait. Flippy is different now, so I have to... Oh, here. Nope, that's not the Flippy anymore. That's closing Flippy.
Oh, no.
Opening Flippy. It's a video now, so now it's different spot. Hold on, I got to go to the video. I'm just going to go to the video and do that.
Okay.
There you go.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
There we go. Yeah, I honestly cannot remember any pre-2019 jingles.
I'm trying. Hold on. Let's see.
Okay. Well, This is a lot of wonderful dead air. We gave you a few. Thank you very much, Michelle K.
Sorry. Thank you, Michelle K. Appreciate it. Hopefully that does it for you.
There we go. We gave her two. Next up, we got producer Ashley F. coming in for $33.33.
Ashley F. Oh, now my board is frozen. Here we go, Ashley F. $33.33. Thank you very much.
There we go. Nice collection of ladies so far. Jessica, Michelle, Ashley, and then there's producer Morv. Morv is on a 102 episode streak.
Yes, he is. Oh my gosh, that whole thing threw me off. He is. Oh my gosh, I am really taxing my computer today.
Oh yeah! Thank you so much.
1111. Thank you, Morv. Next up, Puddin22 is back in the mix.
Hey,
Thank you.
Good to see
comes in with 1111.
1111.
And says, greetings, Basil and Gonz. Praying you are doing well and staying cool. It's 96 here. Just trying to stay cool and do as little as possible, like I normally do. You know how we cats are. Meow, meow, meow. And what day is it, Gary? Puddin22.
And what day? What is it? It's Monday. Okay.
What day is it, Gary?
What day is it? Monday.
I legit didn't know for a second. I was like, what is this day that you speak of?
Yeah. Who's to say?
Yeah.
Thank you, Puddin22. Nice to have you back. Next up, we have producer Valerie H.
Valerie H. Thank you.
Yeah, Valerie H. came in for 1080. Recurring on a monthly basis. Thank you very much, Valerie.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Wonderful. I was trying to see if there's a note with that. I don't think so. Thanks, Valerie. Next up, we got Sir JC, Night of the Techno Squatch on a 114 episode streak.
The
great
spinning
reset.
circles are killing me. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
104, you say? 14. 114.
Oh yeah! Thank you so much. 1001. Amen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir JC, Night of the Techno Squatch, 1001. Happy Monday, bros. Keep up the good
Gary,
fight. Thank you, Sir JC.
What day is it? Monday.
Thank you, Sir JC.
Next up, we got Producer Bot, LX Protocol V2 on a 43 episode streak, coming in with 7s and feeds.
Thank you very much. LX Protocol V2.
Indeed. We also got Mr. Jag coming in for 7s and feeds.
Thank you, Mr. Jag.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jag. We've got James M coming in, a pocket full of 7s.
Thank you, James M.
And he is at least on a 2 episode streak. I'm hacking into the mainframe, checking the bank ledgers, beep, boop, boop.
You see Sam in there poking around? Sam, what are you doing, man?
Get out of here, Sam. No, I think that's two episodes in a row. Thank you very much, James M.
Appreciate it.
And I'm going to do just a quick little check here that may conclude our list of financial producers who came in the amount of $7.77 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. But we got a few people to thank who came in under that amount, starting with Sir James, Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah, who is on a 99 episode streak.
Oh yeah! Thank you so much.
One more.
And actually, a quick correction there. James, Sir James, Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah, actually came in with 1111, so he came in over the 7s.
Okay.
My bad. Thank you very much.
Get you in the right spot there.
Yeah. Next up, we've got producer Darren S., who is on a 6 episode streak. Hey. Darren S. is on fire. Get it. Thank you, Darren S. Next up, we got the Streak Sisters, Veronica D. and Gail M., both on a 132 episode streak.
Oh yeah! Thank you so much. Rule.
Women rule. Indeed. One
they
more
will
until
become the streak next.
133.
Yeah.
Wow. Next up, we got Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 157 episodes in a row.
Best thing on 2 feet.
Last but not least, we've got Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 167 episodes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sir Casey. Good night. And that concludes our list of financial producers. Thank you all for producing the show, keeping us going. We could not do it without you. And if you're out there and maybe you've never produced the show before and you've thought about it and you just haven't done it, and you know that really there's all sorts of amounts you can come in. There's an available level for any budget. Consider what it might feel like to grasp the power of deciding the value of your independent media without the intermediary of some evil lizard person with a profit motive at their heart. You can become a part of the revolution by heading on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support, supporting the show, and feeling good. And make sure to send us a message so we know to demooch you, because that always feels good too.
Yep.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. Okay, Gonz. Now, here's the thing. We are just going to move directly into our next segment because the only voice messages that we received are pertinent to the next segment of the show. So I think we are just going to move directly into the next block of the C block here. And so YouTubers, what are we doing? Are we moving the YouTubers?
You know, I was thinking, just based on time, because we're so far behind today, we might have to drop COVID anyway. There's not much to report on.
You're right.
So maybe we keep our YouTube friends on.
Let's
today.
keep moving then.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially since we need to keep moving, so we're just going to keep moving. Here we go. Let's wake up.
Well, let's thank our patrons first.
Oh yeah, thank you for your patronage.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes,
thank you.
wake up
Thank
time.
you.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Thank you for your patronage.
Wow, look at that.
It did that thing. Hold on, one more time.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, let's talk about some politics and maybe some race wars, maybe some January 6th rioters. What do you think?
It's Latin for many. Now suck your blood. Now politics.
Is it all those other things too? What was the
I
other
think
thing?
so.
So there was, what was it? There was
January 6th rioters. I think we could throw in there. Maybe race wars.
Race wars.
So many options.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Are we
Should have done this before. That's
race
my bad.
wars.
Race war.
I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Race war. What was the other thing?
I don't know. There's also like FBI psyops. There's so many things that this is, and my soundboard is still broken. So I wish I could help, but I cannot.
This was an NSA-style hybrid war psyops.
There we go. Okay. All right. Well, here we go. This is one of the bigger news stories over the weekend here, but a lot of reporting coming out this morning. I'm taking this from CNN, and there's a reason for this. It will become clear in a little while. And dang, my highlight went away too. But the headline is, the 31 people arrested in Idaho have ties to a white nationalist group and plan to riot at a pride event, police say. Here's what we know. And surely you've heard this already, folks, but we're going to dig in, and also don't call me Shirley. It goes like this. After an alarmed 911 caller reported a group dressed like a little army, in quotes, getting into a moving truck, police in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, arrested 31 men believed to be linked to a white nationalist group who had plans to riot at a weekend pride event, authorities said. 31 guns. Ooh, so close. If only it was 33. Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps there's a clue. Now, keep in mind, one of the fun reasons, there's a couple of reasons we chose to take this from CNN, but also one of those is as we continue to observe and report about the changes going on at CNN, moving from, CNN fear peddling liars to some version.
Less lying. Not that it's free of lying, just less obvious lying.
No, just more traditional,
traditional lying. Yeah, more traditional propaganda. Let's bring it back to
traditional
2005.
propaganda and journalism, and not some sort of entertainment product. The large group, which police believe was affiliated with Patriot Front. Listen to CNN's sort of arm's length that they are attesting that these individuals are, racists or white supremacists or whatever. So far, again, this is CNN, which is notable to point out that they're saying things such as, which police believe was affiliated with Patriot Front. And that language will become actually pretty hilarious once some of the more details are put out here. Was seen at a hotel piling into a U-Haul with riot gear. The caller told a 911 dispatcher. They were later pulled over and arrested, Coeur d'Alene Police Chief Lee White said. So there's a 911 call, said they were at a hotel. They saw 30 guys piling into the back of a U-Haul and called the cops.
Wearing masks? Were they wearing masks and matching
all
garb?
Dressed up in the exact garb. So, folks, if you don't remember, Patriot Front, I have a little bit of history we'll go over later, but Patriot Front is also the same group who marched at the Capitol building in December, where they were all wearing the same clothes, khaki pants, blue shirt, khaki hat, and white what are they called? Gators.
Gators, yeah.
They're gators. I've seen them in different articles described as balaclavas. You know that? Have you heard this term, Gonz? Balaclava is like a ski mask, but it's like it sounds very sort of Russian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, but these are just gators, the kind that Fauci said you could wear to protect yourself from COVID. Anyway, so they're seen piling into a U-Haul, dressed in all uniform. And somebody saw that and said, that's a little weird. I should probably tell somebody about this. The group was headed to a Pride in the Park event at Coeur d'Alene City Park, police said. The event included a pride walk and performances by local musicians, dancers, and drag artists. Certainly an inflammatory thing there at the end. I've never heard the term drag artists, but they are artists, apparently.
How dare you diminish their
Oh, I just did not know it. I've never heard. I knew fushigi was an art form. Local and state police were plentiful and on high alert Saturday because they wanted, quote, to make sure this event went off safely. Mayor Jim Hammond said they'd also received threats about a separate group meeting in another city park, threats that turned out to be unfounded, he said. Hammond referred to those...
Why mention it then?
Exactly. But okay. Why mention it at all?
Unless they're implying that they're all part of the same white nationalist group.
Well, and I'm just going to say it now. There was a moment when it occurred to me, we've been following the FBI sort of pattern where they radicalize some kid and then trick him into committing a crime, equipping him, training him, and then right when he's about to do it, they arrest him and take all the credit for doing so. It kind of felt like in this story as it goes that it was kind of like a PR event for the cops more than anything. But I don't know. Let's continue. Hammond referred to those arrested as young men who, quote, seemed to not have a purpose. Okay. Asked what he thought the group might have done had police not... So, Gonz, they're all wearing the exact same clothes. As we'll hear, they had some equipment in the car. They're piled into a U-Haul. And when asked, what do you think they were doing? You say, they're just young men who don't have a purpose. Seems like a pretty purposeful activity to be participating in. Piling into a back of a U-Haul with your best friends all dressed in uniform.
It's not like they had pamphlets to hand out to people or something.
Oh, didn't they? Quote, I have not seen that these people had any firearms, so I think it would have just mostly just disruption and tried to cause fear. Ooh, no guns.
What about?
No guns.
I think they had other things though, right? They had like
Police
shields
found
and spears.
Police found at least one smoke grenade.
Oh, for their escape, obviously. It's not to hurt anybody.
It's a ninja escape.
Their escape bomb.
Smoke bomb.
Smoke bomb, yeah.
All 31 individuals were from outside the local area, Hammond said previously. Just 2 were from Idaho, according to a booking summary from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office.
Kootenai.
That number keeps changing. By the way, this article has recently been updated. Things have changed since we saw it before.
I told you. I was worried about it, but you kept
No.
pressing.
Well, we knew this happens. They do this.
I know.
It's unclear why they picked Coeur d'Alene's out of all the Pride events going on in the nation. But Hammond said perhaps they thought they could, quote, get away with more in a smaller community like Coeur d'Alene, a city of about 56,000 residents located just over the Washington border from Spokane. I did not know Coeur d'Alene only had 56,000 residents. That is much, much smaller than I thought it was.
And how many of those are Canarians? I'd say
a pretty good proportion.
6,000.
Some of our biggest meetups have been in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
The North Idaho Pride Alliance, which organized the event, released a statement Sunday saying its members were resting after successfully organizing a momentous, joyful, and safe Pride in the Park community celebration under the most challenging of circumstances. We are deeply grateful to law enforcement agencies who were present and professionally responded. Here's what we know about the arrest.
Police?
Thank you. That is one of the big points that I was receiving in the messaging here was, hey, no, we don't want to defund the police anymore. We want to fund the police because they protect our Pride events and they get the bad guys, they get the racists. And yeah, it was really, that's what I mean. It was like a real good PR event for the Coeur d'Alene Police Department. Police received report of a group dressed like a little army. There was a large police presence, and then it kind of repeats a lot of the stuff that we just talked about. They talk about the 911 call, the concerned citizen, and here's where we get into some of the other things. Police, here we go. The group was equipped with shields and masks and looks like a little army, the caller said, according to White, about 10 minutes after the call. So shields and masks. And these are the same things that you can see in the old articles from December when they marched on the Capitol. A building or something. They had these shields, like police riot shields that they carried with them. And if you remember, folks, when this same group dressed in their funny outfits all together, wearing their white masks and things like this, the 100% of analysis that we are really getting from most people, and, kind of including, and I'm talking about independent media, was like, this is the most fed boy, fed event, federal, fed boy group that we have ever seen. I mean, straight up fed boys walking around. And we'll get more into that in a second. About 10 minutes after the call, officers stopped the U-Haul and detained 31 people, White said. They were charged with misdemeanor conspiracy to riot. The group was dressed similarly, wearing khaki pants, blue shirts, hats, and plastic inside them. Okay, hats with plastic inside them. Ooh, the chief said. They were also equipped with, quote, shields, shin guards, and other riot gear. Shin guards, Gonz. Can you imagine?
Is the plastic reference to some kind of climate change thing? Or like, look at how irresponsible these people. Look at the plastic is probably getting to their minds. That's why they're so racist.
I don't know. I thought it was strange too. I know that there are hats,
or maybe it's like like a military, not
weighted
military,
hats,
but some kind of
I'm talking
implying
about
confrontation.
Weighted hats. You know what I'm talking about. They basically make baseball hats that are like also weapons.
Right.
Like they're weighted that you can swing them at people. But I don't think that's plastic. Maybe that's like, some of them have flashlights built in and stuff. I don't know. Along with papers, White, that's the police chief, described as, quote, similar to an operations plan that a police or military group would put together for an event.
Oh, quote, maybe the organizers know how that stuff works and then are replicating
it's almost like,
for some
papers similar to an operations plan that like the FBI might have. if they are staging some sort of presence. I don't know. Quote, "It is clear to us, based on the gear that the individuals had with them, the stuff they had in their possession, in the U-Haul with them, along with paperwork that was seized from them, that they came to riot downtown." It came to riot, Gonz. Quote, "I think some of us were a bit surprised by not only the level of preparation that we saw, but the equipment that was carried and worn on these individuals, along with a large amount of equipment that was left in the van when the stop happened." Shin guards, Gonz. They're talking about shin guards. White said at a news conference Monday, quote, "That level of preparation is not something you see every day," the chief said. Isn't that funny? It's just like they were so prepared. That level of
preparation every day, police chief.
So prepared. It was crazy. It was prepared. And you know, after so we had a destruction of all our material before the show we had to put together, and one of the ones that I had was a quote from the fella. Oh, maybe this is in our next piece of thing. Anyways, there was the fella who's in charge kind of mentioned, like, yeah, we did this just to show that we could be prepared, you know, that we're organized, that we're disciplined, you know, that's why we had all this stuff. Like, okay, city, state, and Kootenai County Police. I'm so sorry. I know we have Coeur d'Alene listeners. I do not know how to pronounce your county. Kootenai County Police responded with 2 SWAT teams, White said. Quote, "I don't think this would have been as successful had we not had one extremely astute citizen who saw something that was very concerning to them and reported it to us," he said. So it's a see something, say something.
You know what
ad.
would be, you know, the level of education of our listeners, and, you know, maybe like in the future as people get aware, what if the police report, instead of, hey, we saw some guys getting in a van or whatever, is, hey, the feds have organized another situation here. Can you guys...
The FBI, they're getting in the U-Haul.
We saw the little operation happening, and, you know, we saw them get in the van, so maybe shut it down for us, or maybe you guys are part of the problem.
As an American citizen, please stop the government from doing whatever they're going to do. Officials aren't releasing the identity of the caller to protect that person. Okay. Was it a snitch? Was it a informant, or was it really just a person?
Oh, informant, maybe?
Right, I just think it's possible. Quote, "Since myself and the other members of our agency have been receiving threats, including death threats, I think it's appropriate that we withhold that person's information at the time," the chief said. Okay, pretty weird thing to just throw in there. You're getting your
threats
boys.
from who?
You're getting death threats from who? And is it related to this? You're getting death threats
some guy
for stopping a U-Haul filled with Army men? Okay, I guess we'll just move on. Cool. The men were released after posting bond, the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office said. They're due back in court at a later date. I don't think they mentioned it here. It was mentioned in another article. Because it was a misdemeanor, their bond each was $300. So pretty easy to get out.
A lot of this stuff... we have like a little boots on the ground, Basil.
Oh, yes. Maybe that's where a lot of this information that I have.
I think you mentioned 2 or 3
The individuals
things from that.
came from a dozen states. So they're saying they're coming from all over the place. None of them were from Coeur d'Alene. One of the interesting pieces of info that is shifting article by article is the ages. CNN says the youngest is 20 years old and the oldest is 40, according to the summary. I saw in other mainstream reporting that the youngest was 21 and the oldest was 36. So that keeps changing. Interesting. Coeur d'Alene police are leading an investigation. Here's a fun part. Coeur d'Alene, so there's 31 people arrested, Gonz. Coeur d'Alene police are leading an investigation with the FBI's assistance. FBI spokesperson Sandra Yee Barker. That's it. They didn't say said or anything. The sentence is, Coeur d'Alene police are leading an investigation with FBI's assistance. FBI spokesperson Sandra Yee Barker. Police arrested at least 2 other people in connection with the Pride event, authorities said. They were charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing, police said. Okay. So the 31
here?
Yeah.
Why are they different from the 31?
We have 30. Why are they even mentioned in this article at all? And
right
coincidentally,
the police
mentioned in the article
with the FBI.
Right after the only mention of the FBI. The only sentence that the FBI shows up in this article is followed by 2 more people got arrested because of disorderly conduct and trespassing, which does technically, Gonz, bring the total up to 33 people arrested.
But they had 2 spies.
We got there. We got there, folks. I know. I thought the same thing. The chat has been going crazy. Are you kidding me? Only 31? That literally never happens. Oh, but CNN, they weren't going to leave you hanging, folks. They added the 2 in there. We got the 33. Boom. Signaling received. Now, long story short, one of the big news items about this whole thing is that Thomas Ryan Rousseau, who is a 23-year-old fella, was arrested with them. Thomas Rousseau is allegedly the leader of Patriot Front, which is a group that broke off from, if you remember, the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, where a woman died after one of the crazy guys drove a car through the protest group. That was a group called Vanguard America, a alleged hate group, racist thing. After that Charlottesville incident, basically, I read a really long breakdown of what happened. More or less, Thomas Ryan Rousseau exacted sort of a coup over the Vanguard America group, internally, and took over the racist group and changed the name, changed the branding, a big, long analysis about how he was, a graphic designer and a video producer, a young kid. He was like 18 at this time. And he took over this Vanguard America white nationalist group, renamed it Patriot Front, redid all the branding himself, and started becoming some sort of, I don't know, CNN formerly CNN would have called him some sort of militia leader or something, Yeah,
they're probably starting to like him. They're like, hey, this guy can really take over some things. Maybe we can. It's a really interesting long story about this Thomas Ryan Rousseau fella and how he cooed, he insurrected his own white nationalist group and took it from the former leaders. Rousseau, let's see here. CNN reached out to Rousseau's attorney. Coeur d'Alene residents and businesses have long made clear. Yeah. So that was the big one. It's funny that CNN is reporting we think that these guys are tied to the Patriot Front group. All signs are looking as to that might be the case. It's the leader of the group is literally there, and you arrested him. So, okay, all right. Well, they don't want to be too. The only person that would kind of be shady about that are the very people that would be involved. Oh, we don't know. It's like shifty eye. We don't know if he is or isn't. Yeah. Looking around,
it's suspiciously non-committal to a pretty obvious fact of the matter.
He said he's the head guy. So what's the holdup?
And it's funny. You look at they have his mugshot here, and he just straight up looks like a Civil War veteran. He's just straight up looks like he's got the beard, but the mustache that is a little longer than the beard. It kind of looks like he's got kind of a plantation owner look. Got some long, sort of slicked back hair. He looks like it almost looks like a picture of a Confederate soldier from the start. Definitely got to look. But as recently as 2018, there's pictures of him, and he's just a literal child.
Little boy.
He's just a literal child. He's baby-faced, he's fresh-faced, he's a pretty small guy. So there you go. There's the story. Now, one of the fun parts about this happening in Coeur d'Alene is that we have a lot of producers there, boots on the ground Canarians, and thank God, actually, one of our boots on the ground producers got some excellent opportunities to talk with these guys after the event. I believe this was after they got out on bail.
Yeah.
After they got out on bail, they took to the streets and were like talking to people and spreading pamphlets and stuff. Just immediately went into like PR mode, which makes me wonder if perhaps this was even planned by Thomas Rousseau himself.
Well, knowing the bail, $300 is not that much money. You can probably, and what's that? 30 guys? Was it 9
30
grand?
guys is a few grand, but
they're under 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, and for a marketing, 10 grand for
as
that
a
marketing,
publicity stunt.
That's
Hello?
cheap. Yeah, make it happen.
He's had his picture on the front page of every major news outlet today. And he they just happen to have nothing actually illegal.
Right.
Nobody had any guns. Nobody had any, they had shields, and the shields aren't illegal. They had, I guess a piece of paper that had some plans on it or something. But they basically all get out unscathed. Some of the sort of suspicious things in this situation is all the video and the pictures of the arrest when they took the guys out of the U-Haul and got them on their knees, zip tied their hands, their whole thing. They're all arrested.
Video for people watching right now. We're showing some people that videotape.
A bunch of guys, and they all still have their mask and their sunglasses on.
And their hats.
And their hats. Some of them are wearing backpacks.
One guy has a GoPro over his hat. So
yeah. I mean, it's just so weird. Like, if you're getting arrested, the first thing that happens is the police tell you to take off your mask and, like, show yourself type of thing. I mean, this is just really weird. And there's some more weird things coming up, folks. But I just want to postulate perhaps this whole thing was planned, and I could see perhaps Thomas Rousseau getting a lieutenant to call in the call, get them the attention they deserve here.
And I think they did like a demasking one by one.
Did they?
Yeah, that's kind of what this video shows here. But we do have the boots on the ground.
They did, of course, release mug shots of all the guys, but we'll get into that. But yeah, let's play the clips. This is from Dame Madeline, and let's hear it.
This is our CCR special Boots on the Ground report. Now, let's go live.
Hey, Basil and Gonz. This is Dame Madeline, Keeper of the Northlands, reporting from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It is Sunday, June 12th, about 5:45 p.m., and I just got back from downtown Coeur d'Alene. You may have seen some dramatic footage over the weekend of a U-Haul truck opening up, and our local police apprehending about 31 Patriot Front members, apparently showing up with the intent to disrupt a Pride in the Park event in downtown Coeur d'Alene. There's quite a few news articles about that, and it's pretty dramatic. And a lot of people are suspicious about it. But I was just downtown with my family about an hour ago, and we ran into apparently a bunch of these guys who were arrested yesterday, and I had a talk with them. So I wanted to kind of give you a boots on the ground report of that. And kind of give you some inside info from talking with their leader, who identified himself as Thomas R. Rousseau. There were about 9 people all wearing these khaki pants and blue shirts. So if you've seen the footage, they were all wearing masks, all wearing the same clothing, and they were all in the same clothing today when we saw them downtown. This time they were unmasked and had some rips and grass stains on their pants. I was going to pull out the speak pipe, but there were quite a few people driving by or walking by and spewing profanity, so I decided against it since this is a family show. I asked them some questions and what they were doing walking around. They'd said that people in their organization paid their bail Their bail apparently was set at $300 each. According to this Rousseau guy, they've got a court date tomorrow and are facing the charges of conspiracy to riot, which is a misdemeanor in Coeur d'Alene. I asked about their funding, and they said that their funding is all internal and that only members can donate to their organization. They said that their cars were still impounded, and while they had been released, they had not been given back their phones or wallets. That said, they still had plenty of their literature, which they were handing out to pedestrians. I'll send you some pics by email. I got a couple. Two of them were also actively recording the conversations that they were having with passersby. One had like a chest-mounted GoPro, and another had a small handheld video camera. So I find it interesting that they were not given back, but that they were given back their cameras and their flyers and cards. So that seems suspicious. I asked them why they chose to come to Coeur d'Alene, and Rousseau had two things to say. The first was that many of their members love to travel, and number two, the Coeur d'Alene Pride event was getting a lot of attention, and they thought it would be a good idea to show up to it, probably just to get some recognition for their organization. He spouted on for a bit about how they try to represent the interests of the local communities that they enter. I asked why they chose to make an entrance in a U-Haul truck and wearing masks, and Rousseau said they didn't want their personal vehicles or faces involved or on camera, since Antifa is known to follow them around and destroy property. They didn't want their identities known or property destroyed. They were all walking around unmasked today, though, and maybe it's because their names have all been released in the news, so they're not super worried about that. He said something about masks being a unifying marker behind their cause, which was interesting. Didn't get a chance to probe about the rumors of feds being involved or whether they actually had smoke grenades, riot shields, or spears like many news outlets are reporting. So he said that someone saw them getting into the U-Haul and called the police. I had seen some reports floating around that federal agents had infiltrated their group chats, and that's how they got caught coming in into downtown Coeur d'Alene. But according to him, someone saw them getting into the U-Haul and called the police. I told him I probably would have done the same exact thing. And I asked why, if they think they try to represent the interests and goals of the communities that they counter-protest in, why they chose such an intimidating way to introduce themselves to Coeur d'Alene, which has had some issues with neo-Nazi groups in the past, what most locals would consider a problem. And his response was that maybe their approach was better for places like Chicago. Our conversation was short, but my take is that this guy Rousseau is kind of a big talker. Some of their stories don't feel cohesive. I'm pretty skeptical. All these guys looked really young, and none of them were from northern Idaho. So anyway, that's my boots on the ground report. Sorry it was kind of long. Really appreciate you guys covering news and teaching us how to think outside the cage. Thanks for all you do. Bye.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much. That was very thorough, and what an opportunity. I mean, this is a national story, and hey, you see the old Confederate soldier kid walking around, you gotta ask him some questions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dame Madeline. What is her full name again? Full title of something of the Northlands. We got to get this right, man. We got to memorize these knights and dames at the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. But anywho,
we need
very
memory
good
cards
report
of them, and then we can practice them with our children at night.
Yeah. Flashcards.
Flashcards. So we were showing some of the pamphlets that were being handed out, and one of them says "Defend American Labor," and it's got a man. It's
really interesting. I was actually going to say I would like to read through some of these.
Yeah,
I'm pulling
especially
them up
the
on my side
one,
because it's very interesting to see their. I mean, just interesting to see their material and kind of how they present it, because the presentation is almost deserves its own deconstruction.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the one with the the octopus, Gonz.
Okay.
And as far as graphic design is concerned, pretty good graphic design. I mean, the picture of the octopus with the Republicans as one of the eyes, the Republican logo as one of the eyes, the Democrat logo as the other eye of the octopus, and the octopus has its tentacles around an outline of the United States. It's very red, white, and blue. Yeah, very red, white, and blue, minimalistic, but kind of almost has like a bit of a socialist propaganda poster feel to it. And as we read it, I kind of got the vibe that they did it in a way that would be attractive to someone who might identify a little bit more with like a liberal ideology, or maybe even like a socialist ideology. There's some reference, both visually and in the language, was like weird. They're like trying to, connect with like socialist Gen Zers in a way almost. So this one reads like this: 2 parties, 1 tyranny. The party system murdered the American Republic to replace it with a fake democracy ruled by lobbyists, bankers, and unelected bureaucrats. The true rulers of the state never receive any votes. Elections are now only mass illusions of popular sovereignty. The United States is no longer of America. The choice between which color of criminal will sell out America's interests for the next 4 years is no choice worth the brutality of our nation endures to uphold it. Plutocracy reigns in the guise of democracy. Americans have had the true power to change their destiny returned to them. The rejection of the conventional political racket will allow Americans to organize and reclaim our collective liberty and national sovereignty. So the use of organize is very much like a kind of a socialist dog whistle. It may not seem that way if you're not familiar with like socialist literature, but to organize is like the power of the people. To organize is sort of like organize is a socialist rallying cry. So to use that term as like the one way for the people to gain their liberty, really talented rhetoricians over there. Representative government is a corpse beneath the despotism's boot. Tyranny rules in the present, yet a sovereign liberty will claim the future. So very intense language there, and one that's, anybody who's sort of any kind of thinker couldn't necessarily disagree with. We know that the country is mostly actually practically ruled by lobbyists and bankers and unelected bureaucrats. Another word for that in the past has been the deep state and, capitalism, things like this. Anything to note on that side, Gonz?
The only thing that came to mind, a couple things actually. One is I noticed that it's very similar to how Alex Mashinsky was being portrayed as this hater of banks and hater of the system, and he did in different words, obviously, with the article. So interesting point there. But also, it's more of a breakdown of this particular page here. There are elements of it, obviously, that can appeal to even, like someone that would listen to this show, even, like the two-party system being...
I don't want to draw too close of a connection, Gonz, by the way.
I understand that. That's what I was going to say.
But the point is that the rhetorician who put this together very specifically aimed it at someone who might be sort of socialist curious. I mean, organized, they even say collective liberty, like collectivism is a very socialist way of speaking. Continue. So that's what I agree with you. It is like, so it can be accepted by so many people who just simply don't like the way things are going.
Right. Yeah, there are many times that I have stated, hey, don't fall into the two-party system. Right. And so that mindset being the hook, I suppose, to catch people. And
even, just the rejection of the system that is obviously not working, no matter what angle you're looking at it from nowadays.
Right. But I think the giveaway here is they almost say too much. I mean, a lot of these pamphlets, I mean, this is just from personal experience. When I get someone hands me a pamphlet or something like that, if there's a lot of writing, I'm like, man, it's kind of like people that listen to see the 4 hours on our
There's
show.
a lot
and
of
they're
text,
like, man, can't do 4 hours. So I don't think people are really getting into the deep parts of the end there. But the two parties, one tyranny thing, people will read that and at least associate. So
totally.
Well done in terms of hooking people, I think.
Right. The other side, it gets a little bit more specific.
A little more obvious.
The other side goes like this. It's kind of got that. Yeah. It's got that socialist agit-prop, propaganda, power to the people type of style on the artwork. You've got a big, strong man
with a
using a pickaxe to chip away at some rocks
anarchy
that have
and dollar signs and
and it says defend American labor. Again, some sort of reference to socialism, where it's like, the labor being the base economic unit of Marxism, things like that. And it goes like this. We want lives of honesty and dignity, but all we are offered by the politicians and the corporations, both, is the imaginary choice between blue-collared squalor and white-collared thievery. Justice will arrive when you no longer must bear witness to the purposeless suffering of your countrymen, when our lives are no longer held hostage at the whim of a merciless mob of corporate paymasters, despicable cops, and their willing sycophants. And so you get to there, you're like, okay, all right, sort of just an anti-establishment type of guy. That's not necessarily uncommon. And up until then, he even has like despicable cops. He might be a defund the police guy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Corporate paymasters. And then it goes into this part. Foreign people the world across are dragged here to be exploited, to be the exploited resources we would not. Okay, he's talking about immigrants being used to do labor that Americans don't want to do. It's not necessarily the craziest thing, but the extra-national readily takes all that the bosses give away. When they take our work, our homes, our families, our communities, all they have left to take is our lives. Unless we unite, and we will demand that for which we once begged. It was the laborious man whose bloodshed created America, and it will be no easier to save this nation than it was to make it.
Okay.
Dips just a little bit into...
Hey, so
dips a little bit into these extra nationals going to take everything away from us, which certainly aligns a little bit better with kind of the white nationalist ideology than our collective liberty and labor organizing. But yeah, that kind of gave it away a little bit.
Oh, and also that last line, man. It was the laborious man whose bloodshed created America, and it will be no easier to save this nation than it was to make it. Meaning what? We're going to have laborious men bloodshed? He's calling for bloodshed?
Calling for...
Whoa, man.
Seems like he's calling for violence. And there's also one of the sort of inflammatory parts about that is within the most recent sort of social movements, the sort of recognition that, the much of our history, the country was sort of built on the back of slaves. We certainly couldn't have done it any faster if it wasn't built on the back of slaves.
Before robots, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, sorry, human slaves, not robo-slaves. And to sort of transpose that onto... Well, he doesn't exactly say who that gets transposed onto, except for the laborious man. Whose bloodshed created America. It'll be no easier to save this. I mean, even laborious man kind of almost sounds like slave.
It does.
Without using it. So it's like, again, this literature is very well crafted to be pretty, like a bit unclear as far as the details are concerned, but does a good job of capturing the sentiment that can be shared with pretty much anybody living in the formerly known middle class of America. Right. It's really a classist struggle. And that's one of the sort of dangerous parts about, not dangerous, one of the more particularly strong tools that can be used by any group to make a big point, which is, in the social justice movement, pretty much every difference between two people has been pointed out, and if I may, sort of laboriously beat to death as like the battle to fight, whether it be race or religion or sexual orientation or whatever. It's all about all those things, and they're very good distractions from really what is one of the most glaring yet often ignored issues, which is classist struggles, classism. It's not so much about white versus black, but white versus black is a really easy rhetorical device to distract from a class struggle. Right. The class struggle being the corporate lizard overlords, the political elite, the those who create the systems or destroy the systems based on how the position they want to put the lower classes in. So this is really being described in a classist struggle, which has been a very useful way to describe things for all sorts of movements, including socialist movements, Marxist movements, putting the focus of inequality on class rather than race. And yet this one dips just a little bit, just a little bit too far in that sort of extra national rhetoric that kind of gives away the white nationalist aspect of the group.
Yeah.
But very interesting to get your hands on this, Dame Madeline. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And the only thing I can keep thinking about is, whether he did this independently or with the influence or with the help of some intelligence people. I think we're going to, this template, I think, is what we need to pay attention to. Right? With these individuals, the groups. Right now, it's built on the political hot topic, which is race. So it's all white national. Every group that is formed is in this context of protecting America, but ultimately hidden under this America talk is, white national, protecting the white race and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that model of protection, preservation, conserving of whether it's American values or whatever, will transfer over to probably human rights, and not just American, but human. And where I see the robot stuff come in, right? The machines, the robots, the AIs, we will see, and we've seen this in movies, and this is why I think this is like, again, the model, the blueprint will be, we'll start to see, in our lifetimes for sure, we will see groups like this that are formed as a way to push back on, I don't know,
the robot takeover,
conscious robots or whatever. Yeah.
Robot replacement. Yeah. You talk about the term, the great replacement.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's done in like a racist way now, or it's being sort of framed in that way. But you talk about the robo replacement. Hello.
The robots are sort of like the ultimate socialist soldiers, right? In a sense, they're kind of perfect for that system because they just need what they need. They don't demand more. They work constantly. So I can see groups forming using that same anti-socialist sentiment. But with the intelligence agencies, they want people to merge with the machine. So
this pamphlet really did have like a real think tank vibe to it.
Oh, super think tank.
They want, of course, they always want to present these, these white nationalist organizations or whatever as kind of hillbillies and uneducated and these types of things. Yeah, and whether that's the case or not, the language in this pamphlet is expertly crafted.
It's sophisticated, yeah.
Yeah, it's very sophisticated. So thank you, Dame Madeline, Keeper of the Northlands, for sending in that report, for sending in the pictures of the pamphlet. Really fascinating. And yeah, I don't know. I could easily see it. With all the reading that I did about this Thomas Rousseau fella, I could easily see him calling in his own tip, or having somebody call in for him, as being part of the plan all along. He's very PR focused. He's very, he's a 21st century man for sure. Now, part of Madeline's breakdown was she also sent in a clip that had something interesting. Do we want to go into that, or
we can?
I'm not sure if it's the most important thing.
Yeah, she's got a whole email there. I mean, yeah, all it is, there's video footage. There was footage of Rousseau from this. It was just a guy. I don't necessarily want to play the video. I don't know if there's any profanity in there, but yeah, I was showing the video earlier when we were going through stuff, and Madeline was giving her report. But yeah, it's the guys at this point. They're on the grass right next to the road there. They're all on their knees. Their hands are tied back. They all got their masks on with the hats on, and there's some SWAT team guys and police officers walking around. And I think the one point that Dame Madeline pointed out was, I think, at like 8 minutes and something seconds.
8 minutes, 42 seconds. The policeman mentions 33 people holed up in the back of the truck.
Okay, let's see here. Let me get close and let's see.
So skip to 8 minutes and 30 seconds or so to overhear the conversation he's having with someone who was concerned that they'd be arresting the people who were in the other park praying in counter protest. And you'll get the whole sound bite.
Conspiracy to riot. Okay. There's 15 shields in there, spears and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what it's all about. No, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like at the same time, hey, if I can educate you guys, I mean, we're not going to be going after law-abiding people, but 33 people load up in the back with a bunch of weapons.
There it is. It's kind of quiet, but yeah, there you go. He was talking about 33 people loaded
He
up in the
mentions
back.
33 people loaded up in the back of the truck with weapons. Those weapons didn't turn out to be in any of the other reports, interestingly.
Yeah. Let me back it up here.
For shin guards.
So, just paying attention to little details, and maybe we're overanalyzing some things, but there was like a butterfly or something on the U-Haul. You know about butterflies.
That's U-Haul. They always have a funny, like a
extra
graphic
art
on the side. Yeah, they always have crazy graphics on the
So it
side and
has
some
nothing to do
science
with-
facts about butterflies.
Oh, it's okay.
Unless it's a Project Monarch, MK
Gentle
Ultra.
Ride. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Project Monarch and mind control. So maybe that's there you go. There's a little. Do you know? And there's like a little thing about learn more about all American roads. Okay, great.
Yeah,
it's a real U-Haul.
Yeah,
I'm looking for that little thing owned by the FBI.
Oh, yeah. This is the FBI license plate.
Yeah.
And this U-Haul thing is strange, but they used it on their other thing, too, the Capitol March in December of 21. There was a whole big story about after the march, they all loaded up in U-Hauls and drove away. And it's like, wow.
I remember
really,
that. That's right.
Yeah. They really have like a system these guys are working with.
Are these... because they were doxxed, right? But I feel like
all of their. Here's the thing that was suspicious to me. All of their, what are they called when you get arrested? Mugshots. All their mugshots have been released, but it's kind of weird because it's really hard to find pictures or video and to see their faces without their masks on. So they did release mugshots, but it's kind of hard to independently verify that the people in the mugshots are the same people who were on their knees outside the U-Haul.
Yeah. I was trying to find, there's something about these kids, all kind of just blindly following direction, I guess, with this group. And the whole thing is very suspicious in terms of
all young guys, just like all the other white supremacists, mass shooters are all super young guys.
And there's just an actual flesh and blood bots kind of vibe to them. I don't know why. It's just something.
Bots, you say?
Bots, yeah. Like they don't have real human qualities or something. They're just
That's racist, Gonz.
No, I'm not. Don't.
We're all the same to you, aren't we? All of us young white men.
Just part of the white devil.
We're all just bots. Huh?
You're all just bots in my Matrix game.
Robots with human skin.
It's the bad guys. I just got to squash all of them, and then I win.
All right.
That's what my dad told me. I'm just kidding.
There's a lot of stuff there.
There is.
Gonzo.
Yes.
Do you need to go?
Actually, I got the notice, and I think we're okay for a little bit longer, so we can.
A little bit longer.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we're okay.
Well, do you want to save some things? You want to go into break now? I mean, if you got a little bit longer, we might be able to actually finish a whole show if we jump to break.
Let's go to break, and we'll wrap things up after.
Sounds good.
This is our second break where we thank our producers who come in with their talent, and we encourage everybody out there to participate in one way or another, especially if you've been given a talent by God. He placed you with this talent, and why put it to waste? Help us process the craziness. CanaryCry News Talk is a place for therapeutic reflection of our troubling world, and we like to process all that with art. The different forms of art include painting, sculpting, literature, architecture, cinema, music, and theater. And fushigi. Weird, you're like yelling. Fushigi as well. Yes, what you said that we couldn't hear through the sound gate because you're yelling from across the room.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you are. Okay, so there you go. We're going to do that today, and we're going to start off with audio production.
Audio production.
Basil is missing. You are not visible. I don't know what happened.
All right, I got to fix something real quick.
Okay. Our first
10 seconds.
Should I wait for you or should I just press on? Okay. Let's see. What are we doing? We're doing audio production. We got one piece of audio come in today, and it is from Psalm 40.
In this darkened world, he can help you see. Just listen to Psalm 40.
Is a note. Hey, everybody. I pray everyone had an excellent Sabbath. As for me, I started working 7 days a week last Monday. Ooh. But by the grace of God, we were able to have Sunday off. Amen. I won't have another day off until mid-August. So please, I'm definitely going to need some prayers. All right. Well, let's call upon the producers. Oh, button. Work. Button. Producers? Oh, no. Oh, good. Yay. There we go. Producers? Producers.
Producers, assemble!
Prayers for Psalm 40. And continues with the note. Thankfully, I was able to finish the book of Revelation before work got too crazy. And for this week, I present to you Revelation Part 4, The Two Witnesses and the Great Dragon. So here's a few seconds of that.
Rise and measure the temple of God. Measure the altar and those who worship there. But do not measure the court outside the temple, for it is given over to the nations. They will trample the holy city for 42 months, and I will grant authority to my two witnesses during those days. If anyone harms them, fire will pour from their mouths and consume their foes. They will have the power to strike the earth with every kind of plague, as often as they desire.
Excellent work, as always, and we will play the full track at the end of the show during our playlist. So thank you very much, Psalm 40. Appreciate it. And there you go. That's it. That's all we got for music.
Okay.
We also have some art. Oh, no, that's not the button.
Your maritime bell.
We start off with Dame Alley of the Skillet Nation.
One RC, another one from Alley now. Here it is.
Yes, here it is on the screen.
Whoa, look at it.
Look at it.
Look upon it, everybody.
Especially if you're listening, you should look at it now.
Oh, if you're just listening, just know that if you are on our newsletter list, these arts are sitting in your inbox. Go look at them. You can also see them on our Instagram.
This piece is titled Man Dude. And it was in reference to David Spergel and his homepage at princeton.edu, where it says, I now serve on JPL Advisory Committee. Oh, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You know, the people that are part of the whole Jack Parsons doing rituals out in the New Mexico desert, you know, trying to conjure up a golem, you know, that whole thing. Yeah. But we also have a haiku to go along with this piece by Dame Epony Blaze. So here we go. David Spergel. I am a astrophysicist teaching at Princeton. Find dark energy. Use microwave background. Look like Anton LaVey.
And indeed he does. You knew this. I knew this. We mentioned it at the time. He's got a beautifully round bald head and a big old goatee, just like old LaVey himself. And bushy eyebrows. That's a big one. This is really one of the most impressive headshots that Ali has done. I don't know exactly why. Something about the bald head, maybe, and the light, the trick of the light that she has used in her shading maneuvers here. Also, a fun detail. I don't know if this was in his original picture, but she's given him a black star.
It's
like
the Baphomet
pentagram.
Yeah,
yes,
it's a pentagram.
The upside down Baphomet star earring that he's got in his left ear there. I'm now loading up the image to see if he has it. Nope, that was a little detail by Ali.
The impressive part is the accuracy of the eyebrows. They kind of go, you know, there's a few stragglers. As Satanists like to do. They like to, you know, grow out their eyebrows and create horns is what I hear is something they like to do. So, definitely got there.
Thank you very much, Dame Ali.
The man looking for dark energy, who is also the head. He's the head guy, right? For the NASA looking for aliens or looking at UFOs?
I believe so.
Wasn't he the guy?
Yes, and also
helping NASA.
We don't know if he's actually a Satanist, by the way.
Yeah,
in case David Spergel's lawyers are watching.
Yeah.
They're looking for some defamation suit. We don't know that. We're just having fun here, folks.
We're just poking fun. You know, this is all fun until someone gets offended.
Thank you very much, Dame Ali.
Thank you, Dame Ali. All right, we got one from Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia.
One art piece from Dove.
We have a note. Peace. For this week's Bible artwork, I did an illustration for Psalm 40's new Revelation track, another remix of an old classic woodblock print. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins, Dove, and man.
Yeah, it's like a classic. It's a reimagining, a redoing there of the Michael, Archangel Michael sort of etching classic pose where he's got his armor and his wings outspread, and he's holding a sword and a shield, and he's got his foot on
the dragon.
On the dragon. That's
multi-headed dragon from Revelation 12.
Yeah, which is pretty cool, pretty epic, especially if you appreciate sort of that old-timey Christian art style, where it's very sort of Renaissance-y, lots of flowing robes and cool swords and stuff. And this is done against a background of like a dark purple, dark blue with stars, and the stars are falling out of the sky. And it's got some beautiful sort of old Englishy font here. Michael and the host of heaven fought against the dragon and his angel.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
What's that on his shield?
I was going to ask you the same thing. QVIS VT EEVS. Might just do a quick little searchy poo on that.
Okay.
Because I'm sure it's something cool.
Okay. How's the searchy poo going?
I was hoping you could do it.
You want me to do it?
Significantly faster than I could.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
I got to poke at a digital keyboard floating in the ether in front of me.
I thought you were already connected with the metaverse there, so I thought, you can just think it.
No,
and
my
search.
my brain implant. See, the metaverse is pretty much more inconvenient than anything in the real world if you don't have your brain implant.
Here we go. So Cuvis VT Devs, I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong. A Latin sentence meaning "who is like God" is a literal translation of the name Michael.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, always gems, always some little info in there. Sir Dove, good job.
I got to tell people named Michael that I know how to spell their name in a funny way. Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Thank you, Sir Dove. Appreciate it. And excellent work as always. And we move on here. We got a cool thing from DS. And let me actually pull it up here. I think this is the file.
I can read it. I've got it right here.
Read it. Yeah, go for it.
Hello, Basil and Gonz. I wanted to make some art for the show. Since you're always talking about NFTs, I wanted to make one, but I don't know how those work. So instead, I just made some Basil and Gonz emotes. I hope you like them. Thank you for all your hard work and effort on the show. Oh, this is Darren S.
Yeah, Darren
Thank you very
S.
much, Darren S. Yes, a producer, financial producer. P.S. I give my legal permission for you to use these.
Hey, this is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, these are really awesome. Actually, I might make one of these my profile picture.
And I think you and I need to take the big step and do.
We could actually mint these.
That's what I'm saying. We can mint these on the Ethereum blockchain, and we can make it our PFP. That's profile pic on Twitter, and it'll be an official NFT, and we will be hexed on Twitter. Which you said you never even seen a hexed account before, but
that was a
exist.
thing. It sounds scary.
Yeah, it does.
Well, for those who don't know, because I didn't know, it means that you're, instead of having a circle for your profile picture, it's a hex.
A hexagon. Yeah.
And these are very fun for those who are just listening. It's like your classic 8-bit emoji kind of art that became so popular during NFT times. You know, your what are they called? Punk, Afro punk. What are they called?
Well, there were the CryptoPunks. Yeah.
Yeah, CryptoPunks and some other NFT art where it looks like an old, N64 8-bit art piece of somebody's face. And he made a whole series of these things. There's Basil there with his big eyes and his face is screaming. I'm screaming in every single one of them.
You have your mouth open on every single one, which is great.
Some of them I've got heart eyes or kind of like angry eyes. One of them, my eyeball fell off entirely. One of them, I look very worried. And same for you, Gonz. You got you with your hat, your prayer hat there. We've got similar emotions there. You've got like a music-y one where you're singing. You're doing like a heavy metal scream, it looks like. This is very cool. Thank you very much, Darren S. We'll probably definitely do something with these.
We'll do something. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
Very cool.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And that does it for the artwork. But we do have some microfiction.
Got a few microfictions here.
Microfiction.
Time.
Microfiction.
We're going to start with Runk Smash. Play. There you go.
Abby flattens her round body and slides under the door. On the other side, she takes the shape of a spider and climbs to the handle. With some effort, opens the door, letting Rooster in. Rooster charges for the computers and jacks into the USB port.
Whoa.
Abby Synth is a shapeshifter.
And the Rooster connects to the USB port?
Cyber Rooster, Propaganda Rooster must be able to, there's some espionage going on here.
Yeah, this is craziness right there.
Thank you, Runk Smash.
Thank you, Runk Smash. Next up, we have the Sentinel. Did the Sentinel have a jingle? A name jingle? Or title jingle?
Not sure.
I forget. I always forget some of the newer ones. But the Sentinel is here, and the Sentinel has entry number 25 for us here. Oops, hold on. The old one is still playing. Hold on. All right, here we go. Here's the Sentinel.
Round 2. The remaining 20 competitors now battle it out in groups of 5. Only the skaters who complete 15 laps in less than 10 minutes will advance in the competition. Gonz watches as Basil races against the clock. The 2 alpha boys in his group are hesitant to attack him after what happened to their friend. Instead, they prey on the 2 weaker skaters. As Basil makes his 8th pass by the crowd, Gonz directs his attention to one of the downed skaters. Basil swoops by the competitor, grasping their hand and pulling them to their feet. He looks at her. It's the same googly-eyed girl he crashed into months before. Basil slows his pace to skate beside her. Helping her make up lost time, they finish their laps together just under the 10-minute mark, coming in right behind the 2 alpha boys. "What's your name?" he asks her. "Allison Tick, but my friends call me the Alpha Gal." Woo! Woo!
There she is, the Alpha Gal.
Alpha Gal has made it. Thank you very much, the Sentinel. That moment of dramatic pause, had to do it because my VR turned into a blank white void space. But I'm back. It got me back.
Hey.
Thank you very much, the Sentinel.
Thank you, Sentinel. We have one more today, and it's from MLC. And I think I officially need to get another music bed for MLC.
Yeah,
we're getting
and we
to that
apologize. MLC actually sent this in for Friday's show, and somehow we missed it.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me see if there's anything we can do that's a little different. I don't think we're going to find anything at the moment.
At the moment. We'll get some.
We'll get some. So here's MCL.
With America's capital destroyed and being under a nuclear pandemic, the United Nations announced that the Great Reset nations have begun. The speech went as follows. America will no longer be a feather floating in the wind. Since the government and the Constitution has been destroyed, we will have this landmass be the first of many reset countries. Talks are going out across the Americas to include other nations as well. We are proud to announce that Bill Gates will be Station 1's, formerly known as America, keeper. While this was happening and the world was mourning the loss of a world power, Russia struck Ukraine hard and took over the region. China took advantage of the situation as well. They swallowed up Taiwan. Iran also made their move on Iraq and conquered. The whole world was stunned. Silence fell upon all leaders, except one voice in the desert. That voice crying out, "Stop! No more! No further!" Very much, MLC.
Thank you, MLC. Very epic.
And one thing we've never done, and I don't necessarily feel like we must do this now, but just something to keep in mind. Runk Smash started the microfictions based on the character count that was allowed within a PayPal note to a donation. And, so he's always had a very consistent character count. I'm not sure if we need to enforce anything now, but, there is a world in which, it'd be good to just give character count suggestions to the microfictions.
But they are micro,
They are micro, right? Micro, there's mini and micro are two different things. Anyways, that's no suggestion right now. Everybody's doing okay, but it'd be nice to put a little portal on the website or something where microfictionists can just jump in there and it's all, they have the character count built into the portal or something. Anywho, there you go. There's some rambling. Thank you very much to all of our microfictionists, all of our artists, all of our musicians. You guys are the best. And if you are a creative person in any form, create something for the show. and send it in to CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com. And we'd love to feature it on the show. It's very important. Very important. We recognize the importance of art in creating and maintaining culture in any organization, and the Canarium is no different. Just send all your work to CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Let's do a couple more stories and call it a day.
Okay.
Space. Wanna go to space?
We're all trying to leave this world, Basil, and go to the red planet where humanity will expand into the ether and into the future of the world. And why isn't this page loading? Come on, website. Give me this good stuff, man. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this page is not loading. Do I exit or wait? I will wait. WIONnews.com. Is someone looking at us from Mars? This creepy photo suggests so. I'm talking slow to try to reload this web page, which is not reloading.
No.
It's been that kind of day today. We had the entire rig shut down. There we go. There you are. Thank you, computer. Thank you, LaMDA, for allowing me to continue with the show. All right, so the headline here is someone looking at us from Mars? This creepy photo sure looks like it. And I don't know how these things are. Yeah, I don't know how these things are news anymore, but okay. Mars has been favorite candidate of humankind to search for life just next door in our solar system. Martians attacking Earth has been a recurrent theme in movies and books. The theme is so popular that it almost appears that we secretly wish our planet to be invaded by Martians. So how about an idea that someone is staring at us from the surface of the red planet? The idea sure sends a chill down our spine, as it suggests that while we were busy understanding our neighbor by sending spacecrafts, someone or something on the planet instead had its eyes at us. Latest photograph clicked by European Space Agency Orbiter. Sure looks like it. Shouldn't the word be snapped? Aren't photographs snapped by people, not clicked? But okay. But thrill seekers among us need to hold their horses for a bit, as this photo is of a massive crater on the surface of Mars. That doesn't mean it doesn't look scary. Is that a double negative on a... Okay. The crater is almost the shape of an eye, with complete with a blackened region at the center. The crater is 30 kilometers across and is located in a region in southern hemisphere of Mars. The region is named Aonia Terra. Aonia, A-O-N-I-A, Terra. This region of Mars features many craters formed due to massive impacts 4 billion years ago. Is that 4 billion Mars years or Earth years? See, they're never clear about that stuff. You know, that's why it's all hogwash. These infant planets are being battered by huge space rocks and that were roaming around in the newly formed solar system. Okay, Earth was battered as well, but much of the evidence of such bombardment was erased. Two twos right there. T-O-T-O. That's a typo. Various natural processes that have been ongoing for billions of years. This story is nonsense, Basil. And this NASA picture of a alleged crater. I mean, it looks like a zoomed in picture of a wart or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like I don't know, like maybe the crust of a baguette.
Yes.
Or
with the burn mark, like somebody put a cigar or tried to put a cigar out on a piece of bread or something. You know, it's got the black charcoal there, little dent, or maybe it's pizza bread. Not impressed. Not impressed. But why make a reference to at all to an all-seeing or not all-seeing, but like some kind of eye looking back at us, like we're being watched?
You know, that's always been a bit of a motif when it comes to space. You know, there's the nebula, the like eyeball nebula thing. that they call it the Eye of God or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I think there's something just very sort of deeply ingrained in us. The idea that some large eye in the sky would be watching us.
Yeah. Yes. Which is interesting because it's almost like they can't get away from the
idea of God.
The idea of God. It doesn't even have to be
an omnipresent large figure watching us.
Yeah.
And, again, if you talk about the sort of cult of scientism, and we've already identified, of course, scientists being the priests, astronauts being the prophets, and just above the prophets, where the prophets will visit someday, is the eye itself looking down at us, whether that's a nebula or a piece of bread on Mars. It seems like it's, again, I think they mentioned it in the article. It's almost like we want there to be something up there.
We do,
looking back.
And if you think about the new agey thing, about speaking it into existence, I feel like if enough people want it, they'll provide something.
Sure.
Like they'll give them, the lizard people will give them something. So
anyway, what is this place called? The Aeonia?
Yeah, Aeonia Terra.
Trying to find what Aeonia might be, but is proving more difficult than I thought.
Oh, really? Did you take get a Goog stab at it?
Tried, yeah, but nothing's coming up. I don't know what Aeonia references, because all these space names, they always reference some
mythology,
Greek god or something. Yeah.
District in Greece.
Jackie, I think it's Jackie in the chat says Aeonia may have been a district of ancient Boeotia,
in Greece.
A region in Greece, containing the mountains Helicon and Cithaeron.
Yeah.
Okay, don't know what any of that means, but it's probably where some Greek mythological battle happened, or some god that birthed his own mother or something.
It looks like Ovid's Metamorphosis has something to do with the whom Ovid calls Aeonides. Yeah,
it's fun to watch the scientific establishment reference the idea that there is some sort of omnipotent watcher, no matter what they're looking at out there.
Yeah, well, the Aeonian maids, Alexander Pope. The bard must surpass the Aeonian maid. Interesting. Yeah,
read out loud, Gonz. We're doing a podcast. This is the mumble section of the podcast where we each do our,
that's really interesting.
Some web pages and mumble under our breath.
Okay, it says here, the English poet Ben Jonson berates himself for sloth. Are all the Aeonian springs dried up? In Paradise Lost, John Milton, quote, intends to soar above the Aeonian mount. Alexander Pope, in a similar gesture, says the bard must surpass the Aeonian maids. In a sonnet, the Italian poet Ugo Foscolo addresses his muse as Aeonia Diva. So clearly there's some classical references there.
Yeah.
That and calling it Aeonia Terra has that sort of extra, it's firm land, it's firm ground.
Yeah.
But in this other area,
fun. It's fun because the scientists get to sort of make up their own fantastical worlds on places.
Yeah, especially in the metaverse.
May or may not.
All right.
Okay.
I
got something for you. I got some Antarctica for you.
It's cold, Basil. It's cold. Antarctica, go first.
It's a snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice scientists are penguins.
Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
Yes, they are.
Or did that just get cut off? Okay.
I think
here we go, folks. Antarctica, it continues to establish itself as the utopia of the future, where all the celebrities and the elites can escape the frying of the rest of the world. Well, Gonz, Antarctica continues to establish itself as a luxury location where we all must go in order to fully realize what Earth has to I don't know, has to offer us. And this Antarctica update, Gonzo, is coming from JimmyBuffett.com. Yeah, baby.
I think we're a little late to the Jimmy Buffett Antarctica party, but
I know it's old, but we're doing it. We're bringing it to the show here. Set your watches to island time, baby, because here's a post. Adventure to Antarctica with performances by Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy to perform rare Antarctica concert as part of an 11-day musical expedition. That's coming up December 2nd for anybody out there. Insider Expeditions, a premier travel company, is excited to announce Adventure to Antarctica with performances by Jimmy Buffett. Not the most creative name. That is in quotation marks. The actual name of this trip is called Adventure to Antarctica with performances by Jimmy Buffett. A once-in-a-lifetime musical voyage to the far side of the world.
You got to get Antarctica and Jimmy Buffett in the title. So that's tough. That's a lot of things to do you know some Jimmy Buffett songs, Basil?
Time for a penguin burger in paradise, Gonz.
Oh no, hide the penguins.
Yeah, Jimmy Buffett and
penguin burgers.
Few of his coral reefer friends.
They're probably juicy and good, huh?
I am sort of actually, ironically, a huge Jimmy Buffett fan.
Yeah, I figured.
There was Escape from Margaritaville.
Margaritaville is the most popular song by Jimmy Buffett.
No, of course. No, I'm talking about Escape to Margaritaville, which was the musical theater performance written by Jimmy Buffett. And I went to Escape to Margaritaville. Yeah. I know. I dressed up, had my Hawaiian shirt on, and I had at the end of the show they threw out some branded beach balls into the crowd at this fancy musical theater performance. It was a great show. And then, of course, Margaritaville. You know, I do some traveling, not just on Earth, but through the time stream. I'll tell you this. Margaritaville, as a brand, has a great presence throughout the interdimensional travel industry.
He's huge in all dimensions.
Yeah, you can go to Margaritaville in Cabo. You can go to Margaritaville in the Caribbean. You can go to Margaritaville in Antarctica and in, Universe C157 through D174. This goes on here. Jimmy Buffett and a few of his coral reefer friends, nice, will participate in a concert expedition to the southernmost seas in early December 22. Known for being a sailor, captain. Oh, you mean son of a sailor. Come on now. Known for being a sailor, captain, and frequent traveler to remote and exotic places around the world, Antarctica is one of the few places still on Jimmy Buffett's bucket list. This is the chance for 150 lucky travelers to check it off theirs too. Jimmy is donating his time and legendary talent to this experience to help raise funds and awareness for ocean conservation. Omaze, the online fundraising platform, is also giving away 2 tickets for one winner. Blah, don't care, blah, blah. Let's see here. The group will meet in stunning Buenos Aires, Argentina, where they will kick off the trip with a one-night hotel stay and welcome dinner for all travelers. The next morning, a chartered plane will take the group to the southernmost city in the world, Ushuaia, Argentina, where they will board one of the newest and most luxurious vessels in the polar regions, the World Navigator. Set sail towards Antarctica and the South Shetland Islands. One of the most environmentally friendly ships at sea, the World Navigator employs a clean-burning hybrid electric hydropropulsion and an anchorless positioning system.
Whoa, hold on. What? Hold on, what?
Yeah. Crazy.
Say that again. Hold on.
It's the World Navigator employs a clean burning hybrid electric hydro propulsion and anchorless positioning system.
Oh wow.
Do I know what any of this means? No. Yeah, but do I know that it's better for the earth? No. But I trust Jimmy Buffett.
You trust Jimmy Buffett. Hold on. There's some yoga on this trip. What's going on here?
The fans will cruise along ice-filled fjords and among spectacular icebergs in the company of seabirds, penguins, seals, and whales, as well as enjoy expert-led discussions on the wildlife, geology, and conservation of the remarkable region. Multiple concert experiences are scheduled, including one actually on the 7th continent, which will be one of the very few concerts to ever happen in Antarctica. Jimmy will be joined by 10-time CMA Musician of the Year Mac McAnally and other coral reefer friends throughout the voyage. Do I know what coral reefer friends are? No, but they have been referenced twice now. Also scheduled, a 7th continent conversation with Jimmy, musical workshops with coral reefers, zodiac landings and excursions around Antarctica, plus plenty of special surprises for the approximately 150 fans lucky enough to join the expeditions. Special surprises, Gonz.
Ooh, what kind of special surprises?
Just gotta go. You just gotta find out. But if Jimmy's involved, you're gonna like these special surprises.
Do you know a song? Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I was just gonna ask if you know a few other songs by Jimmy Buffett. This one might be a hit in Antarctica because it's Antarctica. He has a song called "Changes in Latitudes." Changes in
latitudes, changes in attitudes, beep bop boop ba doop.
Nothing remains quite the same. Yeah, so there you go. I thought that would be a good Antarctica song. Changes in latitude,
there is no more drastic changes in latitude than literally going to Antarctica. You could not have a more drastic change in latitude. And, if Jimmy's there, you're going to have a change in attitude.
Yeah.
Then it goes on, it's all about encouraging eco-awareness and
of course.
Blah, blah, blah.
La, la, la. Well,
yeah, it goes into a non-profit, something there. So what is it called? Singing for Change. The trip is designed and led by Insider Expeditions. And then goes on to tell us how great they are. So there you go. You can go to Antarctica. What this signified to me, truly, and look, my interest in Jimmy Buffett is almost, I am a good millennial. Irony is just A-okay with me. Do I know much about Jimmy Buffett? Not really at all. Am I so relieved that you brought up literally one of the 2 songs that I could remember the words of? Yes, that worked out really well for me. But have I stayed in many Jimmy Buffett themed hotels? Yes. And I've devoted my life to visiting every Margaritaville that comes across my path.
I gotta say, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this speaks more about your parents than it does you.
Okay.
Am I accurate on that? For some reason,
actually,
I feel like,
no, not really.
Okay, so this is on your own volition. You are.
This was on my own volition.
Seeing Jimmy Buffett cruises and
there's
hotels
just something about it that it just seemed like a worthy target for my ironic hobbies and interests.
I will say, I've been to a concert where Jimmy Buffett played, and I don't think I've ever seen such harmony in a crowd as when he played Margaritaville. I was like, wow, if there is peace, could this be what it looks like? It was just unbelievable. But yeah.
He's been pretty good at not getting mixed up in a lot of,
he's old now, though.
Political things.
He's
he is very focused on saving what are they? Rockfish, certain, coral reefs, things like that he gets into. But he's not, he's not chiming in on, Spotify not booting Joe Rogan and stuff, which I think is working out very well for him. So there you go, boomers. I'm here with you.
I thought there was a Jimmy Buffett run-in recently with something, but maybe not. How about Nobody from Nowhere, huh? You know the words of that one?
I don't know.
I don't know a lot of Jimmy Buffett songs either.
Again, like I said, I'm more of a fan of the culture.
Yeah, you're the culture
that Jimmy Buffett has created than his actual music.
You're a bandwagon grifter coming through.
I'm just there for the aesthetic, really. I'm just there to take it easy, wear a Hawaiian shirt, you know.
Your kind of people, not necessarily your kind of music, but your kind of people.
Yeah. And so that's why it's so important to me that I can go to Antarctica with Jimmy Buffett. I don't know how to get on this cruise. From what I can tell, it's a contest across the board.
Wow.
There's no way you can buy your way in.
I think if you make enough of a public stink about stuff, we can get people's attention. And
oh my gosh, however, whatever contest is going on, I should just enter, because if sold out, it says. Okay.
Well, this presser with Jimmy Buffett did get published on March.
Old. Yeah,
this is March. March 30th is when it was published. So it's 3 months old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're way behind, man.
Yeah.
You should have kept up.
Well, I'll just meet him down there. I'll just be in Ushuaia.
Show up. You're going to crash the Jimmy Buffett Antarctica performance cruise or whatever it's called.
I'll be a stowaway.
It is this year.
If there's anything that Jimmy Buffett would appreciate and respect more than me stowing away on his Antarctic cruise, I don't know what it is. I think that was very much in line with Jimmy Buffett, because of course he's the captain. We all know he's the captain of this boat. If I got caught, sneaking some shrimp from the buffet, and they're like, "Excuse me, where's your ticket?" I say, "I don't have one." And they go, "Arr, stowaway, bring him to the captain." And they bring me to the captain, Jimmy Buffett, of course, and he's like, "Hey, man, that's cool. Yes, you like the shrimp? All right, here, you get to stay in the captain's quarters, and I'll just sleep on a hammock out on the mezzanine deck." I think that's how I imagine that this would go down, but there's really only one way to find out.
Mm-hmm. Don't look at the Bitcoin price. I think we're done.
I think we're done. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We'll be back on Wednesday. Pops off on Wednesday, folks. We're going to be truly, truly holding ourselves to account, trying to get the show started earlier from now on. So keep an eye out for the newsletter going out, giving you a warning when we're going live. And if you haven't yet, join the text message alert system. That will tell you exactly when we go live. Just so you know, we send out the emails within an hour before the show, and then we send out the text message as we are starting the show. So join both of those things, and you can join both of those things by heading over to CanaryCry.Party. And while you're there, why don't you participate in the value for value model? Did you get any value out of this episode of the show? Did you? Well, maybe not. But if you did, you should become a producer of the show. It's the only way that we keep going. Value for value, baby. It's the future, and it keeps us free from the corporate interests. And if that's important to you, head to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. And we'll love to thank you on the show, just like we're thanking executive producer Spiritually Minded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Spiritually Minded, for today's show.
Yes. And remember, if you're a creative person, you can create art and music and all those things. Send that to CanaryCryRadio@gmail.com. But, it's not just your treasure or your talent, but also your time that you can produce the show with. And an example of that is our Clippies.
Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
That's right. Thanks, Clippies. Emsworth and Faye Liverin nailing it over on Canary Cry Clips, the YouTube channel and the Odysee channel. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.
And indeed, thank you to our timestampers.
Timestamp.
It's hard work.
Thank you so much to our timestampers that are doing the timestamps for the show. Goes into so much of our back end. And thank you to Christine C. for doing Friday's timestamp.
I appreciate that.
Go to CanaryCryMeetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetup.
CanaryCry.Meetups.com. You can check it out. We've got meetups going on. We have our Zoom meetup that goes on every third Saturday. You can go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com to get the info for that. We've also got the Holidaysburg, the Canary Cry Rust Beltium meetup going on in Pennsylvania. That is next month on the 9th. So if you're anywhere around there, plan on going to that. And if there's not a meetup near you, you can put one on yourself. It's super easy. You just pick a time and a place and prepare yourself to make lifelong friends and perhaps even find your soulmate. It's happened and it continues to happen. Just send, if you want to do a meetup, send us the info to our email and we'd be happy to let the world know about it. Either way is very important to the health of not just us as a community, but also to your brain as a human being. Go meet up, and we'll see you there.
This is fun!
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. While you're at it, leave a rating and a review. Yippee! Ratings and reviews are very important to every aspect of podcasting, and there's nothing that Gonz and I can do about it except shame our friends. That's you. Go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Please, please, please do that for us. If you don't know what that means, if you have an Apple device, go to Apple Podcasts. It's a little purple icon on your phone. Click on that, search for Canary Cry News Talk, and then leave a rating and a review. Helps us out a whole bunch. When we get 5 or more ratings and reviews every single week, it kicks those algorithms into high gear, and literally hundreds of people find the show every week because, when we get a bunch of ratings and reviews. The last rating and review was on the 6th of this month. That was 11 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
That's as long as the cruise with Jimmy Buffett.
I could have gone on a cruise to Antarctica with Jimmy Buffett, returned, gotten back home, fed the emus, sat down, and still not had another review. So y'all, go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. We got to change it up, Gonz. People aren't responding to this. I don't know what to do, but perhaps for the last time ever, listen to Gonz's grumpy uncle.
Ugly, horrible person. You must leave review on iTunes. And if you do not, you are ugly, horrible person. You bring shame to family. Ugly, horrible person.
Well, what are you going to do, folks? Leave ratings and reviews. Please, please. We'll read them on the show. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it, Gonz.
Okay.
To get the ooh-woo this week. To get the ooh-woo.
Mm-hmm.
We just need 3.
Oh, it's lowering the bar.
Lowering the bar. It's not gonna kick the algorithms into high of a gear as we need, but I just want to hear the jingle, guys.
Oh man.
Want to hear the jingle. I'll go ooh-woo. We'll play the ooh-woo jingle. We just need 3 ratings and reviews this week.
Reacting to market conditions.
I know. Supply and demand, man.
Yeah.
That happens. All right. So go do that. Thank you very much. Do it on Apple Podcasts. Other than that, just share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your penguins and your favorite island-themed musical musicians. Somebody with a connection to Jimmy Buffett. Tell him about the show. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Look, there's that concept of 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, right? You're aware of this?
Yes, I'm very aware.
Okay, so
big deal conversation.
We have to, why would that not also apply to Jimmy Buffett?
We
have got, especially in a position like us, Gonz, we have a wider net of individuals who we are in contact with, a wider net of people who listen to us than just your normal Joe Schmo. Love Joe Schmo. I'm just saying, it comes with the podcasting game. There's more people listen. Somebody out there has got to have the ability to get us, just a couple more degrees of separation closer to Jimmy. if somebody out there can get me a couple more degrees closer, I can take care of the rest. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start a campaign. Not a tweeting campaign, not an email campaign. We are starting a campaign in person. Canarians going to Jimmy Buffett concerts, spending the $7,000 that it takes to get backstage passes, meeting Jimmy Buffett. And when you're back there and you're sitting there and you're eating the crudité and the shrimp buffet, because you know he's got a shrimp buffet back there. He's Jimmy. He's not going to not have a shrimp buffet in his green room. You're going to get back there. You're going to chomp down as much shrimp as you possibly can. You're going to stick some shrimp into your pockets. And when it's time to meet Jimmy, you pull out a big handful of shrimp. You shake his hand, and he's going to go, "Oh, man, why'd you do that? Well, this actually looks like delicious shrimp. Thank you very much." You'll win his heart. And then that's when you say, "Oh, man, you know what's like the shrimp cocktail of podcasts?" And he'll probably say, "What's a podcast?" And then you say, "Jimmy, you know what a podcast is." And he'll say, "I'm just messing with you, man. I know what a podcast is. I'm a cool boomer." And then you say, "Well, you know how the news media is constantly creating reality for the majority of human beings living on this earth, and that created reality may quite possibly have almost no connection to objective reality?" And he'll say, "What's objective reality, man?" And you'll say, "Jimmy, penguins in the Antarctic need you to listen to this podcast. You think you care about Antarctica so much? Well, these guys, they talk about Antarctica literally 3 times a week. And these are your people, man." And he'll say, all right. And you'll say, "Wait a second. That's
what?
A different guy. You're not Jimmy Buffett. You're Matthew McConaughey." And he'll say, "Yeah, man, sometimes we just kind of trade spots once in a while." And I'll be like,
just shape-shifting.
Yeah, and then you say, "That is really weird, man. Will you tell Jimmy everything that I just told you?" And again, he'll say, all right. And then boom, both Jimmy and Matthew McConaughey will become huge fans of the show. And that's when we get our big break, Gonz. And so somebody get on that. Let me know how it goes. And other than that, if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. We like to call it rattling cages. You just walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Gonz, are you having any changes in latitude, changes in attitude?
No.
Oh.
Not changing nothing for no one. But we are 4 episodes away from 500.
4 episodes.
I guess three. 3 episodes, and then the 4th one will be 500.
Yeah.
So
all right, we need to decide on something to do for episode 500. Some sort of special thing. Are we going to do a night?
Let's do a pie.
Do a knighthood special?
We could.
Problem is, the normal knighthood special would come at 555. It would just be a more special knighthood special, I guess. Yeah. But there's got to be something more creative to do.
Okay, we'll think of something.
All right. If anybody thinks of something, let us know very quickly, please. Yes. This episode is coming up quick. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, cheeseburger in paradise. Think outside the cage. Woo!
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
GSK's most recent problem? They did some horrible thing.
Yeah, no, we reported on it. Was it last summer? I don't remember.
It was recently they were caught doing something horrible. What's the word? We do GlaxoSmithKline crimes?
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man.
Rise,
Bidets, man.
The temple of God. Measure the altar and those who worship there. But do not measure the court outside the temple, for it is given over to the nations. They will trample the holy city for 42 months, and I will grant authority to my 2 witnesses during those days. If anyone harms them, fire will pour from their mouths and consume their foes. They will have the power to strike the earth with every kind of plague, as often as they desire. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that reigns over the abyss will rise against them and kill them, and their bodies will lie in the street for 3.5 days. All the nations will see their dead bodies and refuse to bury them. Those who dwell on the earth will rejoice, because these 2 prophets had been a torment to them. But after the 3.5 days, the breath of life will enter them, and they will stand. They will rise to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies will watch them. When the 7th angel blew his trumpet, every voice in heaven called out, saying, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forevermore." Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and the ark of his covenant rested within it. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed in the sun. The moon was at her feet, and on her head was a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and crying out in the agony of birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, with 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his heads were 7 crowns. His tail swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven, and cast them to the earth. The dragon stood before the woman who was giving birth, so that he might devour the child. But when she gave birth, the child was caught up to God, and the woman fled to the wilderness, to a place prepared by God. Michael and the host of heaven fought against the dragon and his angels. When the dragon was defeated, there was no longer any place for him. So the great dragon was thrown down, the ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world, was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven, saying, "The salvation of our God and the authority of his Christ has come, for the accuser has been thrown down. They have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth, for the devil has come down to you, and he knows that his time is short." When the dragon had been thrown down to the earth, he pursued the woman that had given birth to the child that was caught up to God. But the woman was able to flee to the place where she is nourished. Then the dragon became furious, and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandments of God, and hold to the testimony of Christ Jesus.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support